We're gonna go live, so just no, you're fine. Okay, hi everyone, we're live. Just getting some things set up here to strange. Some things set up here to get more viewers in. So yeah, we don't even have any viewers yet. So for the people watching on catch up, hi. And there's someone here. Okay, we're hurrying up. We're gonna be ready in just a moment, viewer. So hello, other viewers. Happy birthday, Lesbian TV. It's your birthday? Awesome. That's so great. Yeah, just enjoy yourself. We already have 7 viewers. Dear God. Facebook is being slow. I'm trying to put a link on Facebook for those of you watching so that people on Facebook can easily come here because not everybody knows how to use YouTube. I want to make it as easy as possible for women to come. Oh, wow. Is this my birthday? Okay. Huh? What about Capricorn?
It's not your birthday.
No, this person. Lesbian TV actually kind of lives, I haven't met with her yet, but I would like to because she doesn't live very far from me.
I know some of the ones in our group wanted to see this and participate, but
yeah, I'm trying to post it in the group.
Okay.
Yeah, so that they can, but for some reason, look, it's just, yeah, which is often happens. Oh, wow, I haven't heard from Banana and Femi Revo in a while. Good to see you. Almost ready, y'all. Sorry. This is the way of the beast. There we go.
And we got 2 versions.
Yeah, well, they're just gonna have to deal with what they get. I'm not,
Okay.
I'm not.
I think there's more response in the other one. But
Oh, damn it. Okay, well, there's more response in the other one. Okay.
We'll see. I don't know. It's hard to know. Jeez. Got more members in that one.
Okay. Well, it's so hard because when I look at it, I just don't know which one is which. Oh, here we go.
Oh, the rat is
There
the
we go.
secret one.
Okay. All right, y'all. Just some technical difficulties. Stay tuned. Yeah. Thanks for showing up, hanging with Bev and I. We're going to have a good discussion today. So hope you look forward to it. But yeah, it's not Lesbian TV's birthday. She just says it feels like her birthday. She's just getting such a gift, getting to watch us. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Aww.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of friends' birthdays today and around today.
True.
Yasmin last week. Susan.
Yeah. We just want to say, give a nice shout out to all our Gemini lesbian friends.
Yes.
Thank
We love you.
We love you. We don't care that you're part evil. We need you.
We wish. Are they part evil? Some maybe.
Some.
I wish they were here.
I'm just like to be extreme. Yeah.
That's true. It's important.
So we're going to talk about that today, y'all. We got stuff to talk about. So as soon as my technical difficulties clear up, then we'll get started talking about all that stuff, and it's going to be great. So, okay, yeah. Yeah, here we go. Here we go.
I want to change the logo.
Yeah.
The rattlesnake, but it might disturb some.
Well, you know, they need to get over that. It's just a snake. It's not like it's going to come through the screen and get them.
I love that snake. It's one of my best photos. She's really cute with the blue tone.
All right.
I hope.
Yeah. Apart from being politically like a genius, Bev is also a fan of animals. So if you ever need to talk about like critters, see Bev. Hello, MD. Okay. So, all right. We've shared it in a few places. We've done what we can. Welcome, everyone.
Shall we start?
Yeah, we're gonna
Okay.
get started. So
All
let's
right.
look at our notes here. So we have a few things we want to talk about today. We wanted to talk about class because it's such a big issue within the feminist movement.
Mhm.
And we also wanted to talk about the born this way versus choice, political lesbian type discussion, but not just about that, just about lesbianism in general. So here, yeah.
And it's about countering the erasing of lesbian feminist politics in our history,
Yeah.
which so many don't realize because it's rapidly being erased. The men are erasing it.
Yeah.
Can we say what we think?
We can say exactly what we
Okay.
think.
Well, the
No
men say that
censorship on
their
this channel.
lesbians are massively taking over everything we had and are altering our history and telling us their lies, and those who weren't around then are believing it.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, that just reminded me. I was at Bev's house earlier today, and Linda, she brought me that book. Did you bring it? The one by Naomi Wolf's mom.
Yes.
So this is a het woman. She did that Not a Love Story documentary. If you haven't seen it, the anti-porn documentary. She was a feminist, but she did this like anthropological study of the lesbian community. I don't remember what
It's
it
a
was
het
called.
woman, yeah.
Yeah, het
It was
woman.
at UC Berkeley, I think.
Yeah.
So it was our community here.
Yeah.
Berkeley, Oakland, San Francisco.
So yeah, what was interesting to me just reading it was she was talking about in the introduction all the different theories around homosexuality that existed at the time and just historically. And really the whole born this way narrative is more in line with that old like oppressive psychological model of homosexuality. And just for me coming out, I really hearing that it was a choice made it this thing. It helped me come out really.
Yes.
Whereas born this way confused me because I mean, what did that mean?
It
really?
meant we're a very small group of mentally ill perverts. The psychiatrists were running the whole thing.
Yeah.
Young lesbians, girls, young women were being institutionalized, given shock treatment, given drugs,
Yeah.
who were loving other girls and being told it was pathological. And it was illegal in some places. So lesbian feminism changed that by saying we choose who we love. It's not just a sex thing.
Yeah.
And the gay men's movement tried to change it back because their belief, it's a ploy to ask for equal rights from hets in the mainstream. If we can't help being these perverted queers, then and we had used to use that term as an ironical kind of satirical take on the name calling. If we can't help it, then you should give us equal rights. So they were insisting they couldn't help it. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know with men. I think men should all be with each other because they all want to do kind of the same thing.
Live with each other anyway.
Yeah, they just want to fuck anything that moves. But in terms of women, in terms of lesbians, for those who think they're born this way because it's natural to just love other girls, yes, that's the natural state of females. But many make a choice at a certain point to be heterosexual because they don't want the oppression. They want their families to finally love and accept them. They want as much privilege as possible. They want to be considered normal. And some say they're bisexual to kind of straddle the fence so they get access to lesbians in our community and get included with LGB. Now it's het men in the form of T, and often het women.
Yeah, and het women who are special.
Who want access to gay men, yeah. That's what T's about.
Yeah, repugnant. So someone commented, let's see, Lesbian TV said, so sad in light of this that in the 80s, the lesbian community seemed to totally embrace therapy, at least from what I've read and what my mom told me about her life at the time. So, yeah. I mean, I've read about that as well, but I don't know if we want to talk about therapy as much right now.
Could you say it's connected?
Yeah,
therapists have tremendous power. Most of the therapists I've known personally, I would put in the category of mentally ill.
Of course,
and the power they have is tremendous. I had a therapist briefly that was free. I would never have paid. And she was unusual in that she was an old lesbian feminist and very good. and kind and caring, but many of them are really fucked up. Yeah, the whole therapy thing changed. It kind of is opposed to the politics, political understanding, and
well, it's about individual solutions to political problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you see this even now with all of these celebrity suicides that have happened in the past few days. Like, it's always like, here's this number you can call for support, reach out to your friend. And yeah, you should do that. But like, honestly, the reason people are so miserable and struggling mentally is because of the system they're living under. That's oppressive.
No place to live.
It drives women insane. And then of course the poverty, all of it, like, you know, the personal is political. And that's what we really need to get to. And that's the difference between feminism and therapy. Yeah. If anything is putting it back on you, that it's up to you to solve the problem individually. Yeah, you know, you need to be careful about that. Sometimes you need to be tough with yourself and like push yourself, of course, but that's not going to change society. It's not going to change the problems. You know, they treat mental health as if it's out of nowhere.
And it's connected to the pharmaceutical industry. So I know an enormous number of lesbians on various psychiatric drugs. It's horrible. Yeah. They can't get off. Yeah. They don't warn them. With the medical system, you don't get informed consent. So they're in excruciating physical and mental and emotional pain if they try to quit, and they can't.
Yeah. And then what support is there? Oh, yeah. And then just getting off those drugs a lot of the time is difficult.
Yeah.
Anyway, but a lot of the therapy too is about class, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's one thing that I thought we should talk about today, or that we want to talk about today, because class kind of permeates everything. And the thing about Bev and I, one of the reasons we connected so well is that we're both class oppressed and have had to deal with a lot of the same sort of scapegoating and, you know, pushing out of the movement that class oppressed women deal with, and the gaslighting, all of the different methods that the privileged use to control and maintain power rather than either dismantling it or distributing it fairly amongst a collective. So I don't know, where should we get started with that? I think we talked about defining terms yesterday. Should we start there?
We could. How does this work? Do individuals ask questions? Do we hear them?
They're commenting right here.
Okay, which I can't see from here, but
I can read out if there's any questions.
So it's not like they're actually, we hear them.
Yeah, no. Okay. So let's see. Is there anything? MD said therapists are taught in grad school to depoliticize clients' concerns. So, you know, this is what they're taught. And this is the thing, people rely too heavily on authority.
Absolutely.
I mean, we talk about this all the time. If you don't respect authority, then you're considered but that's part of being a radical, is not respecting authority.
And it's also middle class rules. That's the whole thing, talking about class. We're in a situation where the assumptions are made that we should follow these rules we never agreed to, that are actually dangerous to us, opposed to us, hostile to us.
Yeah.
And yet it's just assumed. The lesbian community used to be very different. And it became personalized, but also taken over by middle class values and therapized horribly. It didn't used to always be like this. And I worry when some of us are no longer around, and be told about what used to happen, what our community was like, that the trans cult is lying about our history. They're heterosexual men.
Yeah, most of them.
And a few self-hating women.
Yeah.
And
the rise of, it's interesting because with the transing of children, it's actually the numbers are changing. I mean, but what little girl doesn't want to escape from girlhood, and that's womanhood.
Right.
That's normal for most girls.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's becoming a problem, just like cutting or anorexia is amongst like young women. A way to self-harm and to dissociate.
Yes.
It's a problem. I mean, we're just talking about in my lifetime. Last stream I did, this shit didn't exist 10 years ago, right? Think about what Bev's seen in her life and how much wisdom she has on me.
You're very wise.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I know.
I'm so glad we met.
I know, I am too. I
love our international radical lesbian feminist community. It's amazing.
Yeah. It is. It really is.
Across all ages.
Across ages. This is the thing too. Like, oh God, being across age, across class, across just cultures. It's so important. We're so small as a community. Like, we do need to like be concerned and care about each other. You know, and obviously, you know, we're pretty cool women regardless of where we're from.
And at one point, we were talking earlier with Linda that Linda had been in a consciousness raising, one of the old women's groups, feminist group that she was in for 4 years before she came out. That I think the group started in 1968. So I didn't find lesbian feminism until 1970 because I'm 9 years younger than Linda.
Yeah.
And this group of het women at that point thought it was a matter of time before all women came out. And that's the sense we had in our community.
Yeah.
And that everything was going to change. And that's the other thing about what Born This Way is doing, which is the het women don't have to think about their choices at all.
Yeah, they don't have to.
They're let off the hook. And yet it's not natural. It's not good for women at all. And if they think, well, I see this online, I'm hardwired to like pricks or something, it's like that you're not born with that. I mean,
yeah, that comes from somewhere.
When I was in high school, the first at the end of the biology, the last biology class, the teacher felt like she should talk to us about what sex was. So she described what heterosex was in reproduction. And every girl was horrified. At that point, nobody knew. I mean, some girls obviously were getting sexually assaulted, but the general consensus was, what? Really? This is disgusting. This is horrible. But because the whole media and the culture has been so pornified, girls are getting exposed to really grotesque, horrible stuff early on. Yeah. And you can see through the media. I mean, there's going to be embeds, which they used to talk about in the 60s of they'll have messages that you can't see. Yeah. That it's all subliminal. Yeah. I mean, there have been books about this.
This is why I don't watch TV or anything. I can't, or movies. I just am like.
I do. I'm fine. I know. But it's good to know. And so girls and women are trained to think they want to have something which is really harmful and destructive to them. Yeah. And other things, like wanting to starve themselves. I mean, there are all these other things that girls and women are doing. Yeah. But the heterosex thing is really serious, and it's not natural.
Heterosexual sex is bad for you. There's no way around it. It's damaging you. All right. And if you don't understand that, turn off the stream, come back to it later, when you're ready. But you have a lot of research to do.
Most women do know it. And actually,
you know it inherently. How do you feel after you're fucked?
Oh,
probably awful.
Not to mention, you could have an STD that could kill you.
Yeah.
I mean, things are way worse than they used to be. Yeah. I mean, all the things to have to worry about. Pregnancy can kill you.
Yeah.
But it's horrifying.
No, pregnancy, don't you know, it's the highest form of being a woman, isn't it? Being pregnant. We should talk about that, shouldn't we?
Oh, God.
Bev is really cool because another reason we first connected was she was one of the only other radical feminists I saw that cared at all about classism or racism or basic feminist principles. Because I know a lot of you out there are wondering, you get exposed to like the radical feminist community, and a lot of the time you're left scratching your head like, what the fuck is this? Your liberal feminist community dealt with racism better a lot of the time. So, I mean, it's important to talk about the ways in which women have privilege over one another. And anyway. So class,
I say a lot of women say they're radical feminists that are not at all. Then there's the ones that say they're rad femmes. That usually says they're liberal to right wing.
Yeah.
But I wrote about what radical feminism is at my blog. I've got 2 blogs now.
Yeah, she has 2 blogs.
One has our book, Dykes Loving Dykes, updated 25 years later, and many more articles. But our book's still around.
Yeah.
Well,
we should talk about class. So we came up with, so we want to talk about class because class oppression is big in the feminist movement, and it's a big part of how like power plays and control goes. And if you're not used to dealing with this kind of stuff, it can be overwhelming. You don't really have language to talk about your experiences. And so much of what you are experiencing is class. So I guess I want to talk about that, or we want to talk about that. So let's define terms before we get started. We wanted poverty class individuals are basically, and all of this is about culture. And the reason we talk about class in terms of culture, not in like the Marxist, like proletarian of God sense, but we're talking about the ways in which people are socialized to behave because of their class backgrounds. So when we talk about class oppression, we're talking about the ways in which we're behaving based on those socialized roles, just like with femininity. It's a different sort of absorbed messaging and system. And so because of that and a lack of understanding across class of the different ways people are, or I mean, the middle classes are pretty aware because they use it, don't they?
They act like they don't
They can
understand
spot
it at
you.
all.
But they spot you and they use it against you.
They
all
recognize
the time.
you.
They know exactly where to get you.
They can tell by writing, tell by a photograph, by body language.
Oh yeah.
They know.
They know.
And they police
and
enforce.
So anyway, poverty class individual, basically someone who grew up in poverty. Imagine that. But also, you know, some of the one of the things is they may have grew up living completely on state benefits, like in a household like that, or foster care situations a lot of the time. So, you know, where they may not have had any sort of familial, you know, protection, quote unquote, at all. Single parents, oftentimes in poverty class situations. Homeless, or you know, people who haven't finished high school. You know, these people from these sorts of backgrounds, you know, probably didn't have a lot of educational, cultural stuff in the home as well, and had to like live pretty, you know, much in that vein. So, poverty class, and then working class is. It's kind of a little tier above, but they're also class oppressed. And usually what defines them is that they had one parent that had a good paying working class job, at least, sometimes two. So there was more of a stability there. And this isn't different than proletariat, I wrote in my notes, because it's about culture. Oh, I already said that. It's about culture. It's about culture. So we're not talking about the act of selling your labor here.
Lesbian feminist analysis of class has nothing to do with Marxism.
Yes, and so I want to make this differentiation because the Marxists and the middle classes often are like, well, I'm working class because I sell my labor. In a Marxist sense, not in a cultural sense. You have very different values based on your background and where you're growing up from. Let's see, before we go on to middle class, let's see if there's anything we should respond to. Fausto Gomez says hi from Mexico. Hi, Leah. Okay, Leah, who I usually do the streams with, is here. Yeah. Yeah. So this is exciting. Yeah, we can also move it around too. That's good. Hi. So yeah, let's do that. Okay, and then middle class. So these are usually people who come from a background where their family had property. College educated parents usually, or a family where there are people who are educated. It can also be, you know, in some backgrounds, maybe you were well respected in the community, your parents were well respected in the community, like a reverend or something, somebody with a lot of power and status.
Teacher, professor.
Yeah. So
just want to say there could be a thing. There's a lot of appropriation going on, and just like men appropriate women's identity, lesbian identity. Some of the most classist women I've known, who don't want class talked about, if the issue comes up like in a workshop or something, suddenly they're saying they're working class when they're not.
Yeah.
And it's really weird. And I'm hearing like even rich upper class women, it's like it suddenly can be a status symbol or something they can use to say they can't be classist. So they can deal with, you know.
Well, it's completely classist to lie about your fucking class background, isn't it?
But it's horrifying to go to a workshop about class and see some of the most classist women, you know, saying they're working class.
And then lying about the class experience as well.
Oh, yeah. So it's about culture. like Terry's saying, as well as money. So just even getting a sense that you're worth something growing up, that you can do something with your life, that you have choices, as opposed to, and it's also like, how many generations has there been? Has your family been working class or poverty class? I'm working class, but my parents are poverty class. Their parents are poverty class, as far back as anybody knows. And it showed in terms of, like, did you have family who was in jail or in prison? Or homeless or barely surviving? And it's like, because that certainly was my mother's family.
Okay, so I hope we cleared that up for you, Team Lola. What books can I read about Marxist class analysis versus lesbian, separatist, or feminist class analysis? Well, you can read The Communist Manifesto by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels for an understanding of the Marxist class analysis. And then you can read Dykes Loving Dykes by Bev Jo, Linda Strega, and Rustin for a lesbian feminist analysis of it. And then another woman said, isn't race about economic class, ancient spirits, lineage? They're connected a lot of the time because obviously racial oppression it's often tied in with class. I mean, the majority of like people of color in the US are class oppressed. But you do have things like the Black bourgeoisie, don't you? You do have the middle castes in these movements. I mean, you have to look at the people, like, for example, in like the Black liberation movement, well, not Black liberation, but, like civil rights and that sort of thing, who's chasing respectability, who's out to make a deal, who's well-educated and well-spoken and not radical, who's trying to liberalize everything.
The talented 10th.
Yeah. So, I mean, class is cross race. There are people, of different backgrounds, racially anyway, that are class privileged and class oppressed.
Although the more race oppressed, the majority, except we then have to divide up groups, but will be more class oppressed. And it's really interesting to see the radicalism. Like there's a Facebook group called Misogyny Exposed that Rena Walker does, who's African descent, and most of those participating are African descent women. And it's really interesting to see how they talk about various political issues. It's so refreshing because they're so smart, they're so witty, they're so funny, and they just don't bullshit. I mean, they just say the stuff that's like such a relief, as opposed to some of the groups that are more dominated by Euro descent women that are like still following the middle class rules and acting nice when somebody's really not being nice. Yeah. So, but classism, it definitely goes across all lines, but some groups are much more class oppressed.
Yeah, the name of that group is Misogyny Exposed. If you're on Facebook and interested in checking out that group,
it's
really recommend it.
It has been very HUD identified, but there's been much more support for lesbians, and it's just it's really brilliant.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I've noticed with from what I've seen of the African descent women's community and lesbian community, they seem much less tolerant or taken in by the trans cult bullshit. They're just like, no.
They're because they're constantly freaking have their womanhood fucking under attack as it is.
Yes.
So to be compared to these men is so insulting.
Yeah.
Like, just think about it. You consistently have your womanhood policed as a Black woman, for example, in the USA. And then you're told, like, trans women are women, just like Black women are women. How the fuck does that make you feel as a woman? Like, they're consistently used as props, but like they're never given the support, are they? It's like, let's just use them.
And so many women who think they're feminist are terrified of offending and like they're scared to call men, so they call them trans women, which is ridiculous. It's as ridiculous as transracial. Like Rachel Dolezal does not exist. There's trans species. There's a trans paraplegic. There's this man who has gotten himself in magazines and on TV, Chloe Jennings White. And a number of these people first tried to get attention and popularity by saying they were lesbians. He didn't get enough. So then he's saying he's a trans paraplegic when he's completely able-bodied, and he would bring his wheelchair to his local dyke march with a sign on him saying differently able dyke, deliberately make his wheelchair fall over to get lesbians upset, wanting to help him. And he's completely able-bodied.
Yeah, you can read about this guy. He's on PBS Nova or some shit. Like, yeah.
Gender Trender,
Gender
at
Trender
WordPress is fantastic. Her archives of all the crap and the cons about the whole trans cult, and the fact, like, there's so much information about how many have attacked and killed women, which we're not supposed to talk about. There's another site called This Never Happens. Well, it sure happens. But yeah. So the more oppressed women tend to know that. Yeah. But it's very middle class.
You are, the less likely you are to believe bullshit.
Exactly.
If you want to put that out there. Like, exactly. You have a consciousness that's more dealt with in reality because you're not constantly having to put on a facade constantly, which is a big part of the middle class thing. They're fake. Their behavior is very fake.
It's very middle class fake niceness policing that have women terrified to call a man a man. They oh, it's a trans woman. Well, what the fuck is that? I mean, there's no such thing. It's not real. Transgender does not exist. If it did exist, then, and I don't like the term gender nonconforming either, because it normalizes
gender conformity.
Those who obey male rules to conform. Yeah. So yeah.
Where to even begin with that?
There's so much. Yes.
Well, another thing too, there's this belief that, like, working class and poverty class women aren't radical feminists a lot of the time. From the middle classes, like the idea, there's this consistent idea that they own the movement, they run the movement, and that, again, like any woman who's facing, and like any form of oppression, it's interesting how the oppressed are treated with suspicion. But oftentimes it's a reversal of reality, because it's the working class and poverty class, the class oppressed, who are organizing community, who are engaging in activism. Like, it's interesting, isn't it? That kind of that indifference. There's a lot of commenting going on, so I'm sorry about not being able to read everyone's comments, but there were a few I thought maybe we should address.
While you're looking, I'll just say there are all these myths. Just briefly to go back, if there was such a thing as transgender and there was any caring about the women who say no to male rules of femininity, butches would be getting support by the trans cult, and they absolutely hate us and want us dead.
Oh, yeah.
So that really makes it clear. And then there's men who are completely physically male. They've had, most of the men who call themselves women, by the way, and lesbians, have had no surgery and don't intend to. So they've gotten in power positions in groups like Butch Voices. And which has become very corporate, and there's a big link with porn and sadomasochism, and they're all connected.
Yeah, I mean, gender is porn, is sadomasochism.
Yes, but there's no support for women and lesbians. They say no to male-identified femininity.
So Fausto Gomez is asking if you can share some of your knowledge of lesbian separatist print culture, like journals, magazines, and periodicals. Do you know much about, like, anything you would want to share? I don't know.
Well, they were early on in the early 70s. I came into the lesbian feminist community when I was 19. And there were a lot of newspapers. That was before there were books. Oh, just wanted to say, in terms of rewriting history, I've been seeing in a working class feminist site being said that it was middle class women who created feminism, and that's not true at all. No. And when they named individuals, they named individuals who came way later. Some of them were not middle class. Others were, but that was not who created the community.
Well, the middle classes like to leech off of our energy, don't they?
Absolutely.
And then take credit for it.
And then there's the rewriting history. So publications, well, I've worked on, 3 of us put out Dykes and Gorgons. That was a separatist newspaper, one of the first, 1973 in Berkeley. We did 1 issue. We intended it to be 1 issue. We're actually talking about partly the LA West Coast lesbian feminist. No, it wasn't called Feminist, was it? Lesbian conference that Jean Cordova was part of that showcased a man who was saying he's a lesbian for the first time, a man who I knew personally had stalked me into the lesbian community. So we did Dykes and Gorgons to explain separatism. We wrote about classism, racism, and to counter the trans cult at that point, which didn't have much power until relatively recently. There were a lot of lesbian publications that had basic separatist values and ideas, but were afraid to say they were separatist because separatists were constantly being attacked. One of the best newspapers was from Minneapolis that was called the Lesbian Insider, with 3 spellings of insider. And that was brilliant.
I can think of some right now. Inciter is one.
Yes, as an insight.
Yes.
To incite, and insider meaning inside the culture and awareness. And somebody else added another one. That was one of the best ongoing lesbian newspapers I've ever seen. Lesbian Ethics, that the book title was, I think, plagiarized by Sarah Hoagland, because she was part of the community and knew full well that there was a lesbian journal that was mostly separatist, run by a separatist, Jeanette Silvera, who was later called herself Fox, that went on for years, that had a lot of interesting, really good articles, primarily by lesbian separatists. Trying to think what else. There were a lot of things. Music.
And what are you going to create now, viewer?
Huh?
I'm telling the viewer to create something themselves.
The main issue is money, isn't it? To have space, access.
Yeah.
We have this now, which is amazing.
We have this. I mean, we have, use technology now. I mean, now women are using, like, obviously I use YouTube and some other women do as well, but Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a lot of women are doing live streams on Instagram. I've seen some of the women, even in the audience here, do daily live streams where they'll say something political, daily. And it's important. You're part of feminist history. You're part of women's history. I hope you know that, and I hope you take yourself seriously.
Yes. We haven't stopped. We're going to continue.
Yeah.
I've heard some say, like, we've been called a neo-separatist. What do you mean neo? I mean, it's like, we never stop.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who's been a lesbian separatist as long as I have. I'd love to know if there are others. I became one in 1972. But, and I know others who have been as long, but there are always more of us. Yeah. And it's not about living in the country. No, it's not about being privileged. No. We live in this world. We have to survive. It's about who we choose to be friends with, who we choose to love, who we choose to be connected with, work politically with. Yeah.
Where you're putting your energy as a woman, like in terms of your personal relationships and your, your heart as well, like not investing in men. Oh, it's such good comments.
I can't see them.
Well, let's see. So yeah, women are thanking you for all this information.
Oh, thank you.
They said it's invaluable, actually. So that's great.
Terry.
Green Party Rad Femme, or wait, no, what's her name now? Sorry, response to Cyber Wanderlust. What's her name? Her name is Debt Free and Woke. She might be in the comment section here, is one that does live streams. Also, Mariana Firestone is another one I'm seeing doing it. Also, Leah, Knit Piano Camera. These are women that are doing streams regularly. And obviously, you can see Leah on this channel weekly. We're hoping to do it weekly anyway. So
this is all new to me, by the way.
Yeah.
So I've seen Terry a bit, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Big misconception that separatists don't have to work. Yeah. Yeah. Big misconception. I just want to finish this stuff about class, I guess, because I think women are wanting to talk about some other stuff. And I mean, we're here to like respond to anything you have to ask. So please feel free to leave your comments, whatever you'd like to talk about. One thing that we brought up when we were talking yesterday was the platitudes that the middle class kind of rely on. So like common wisdom or whatever, they speak in a lot of like platitudes and their behavior doesn't really reflect that. So you get abused for disagreeing with them. If you're ever abused for disagreeing with someone, that's like red flag time. Like, yeah, but they also do another thing, which can be draining, which is to lecture you. I can't tell you the number of women who lecture me, even on this channel, who watch lecturing me. Like, don't understand that I'm not ignorant. I just disagree.
Exactly.
It's very frustrating to be, it's like, do you know what I know? Why do you assume that you know something I don't? Because I disagree with you.
Because they're privileged.
Because they're privileged. Yeah.
And they're not going to be as smart as you. That's not, I know. I mean, there's an arrogance.
They're arrogant. Yeah, they're arrogant too. But like, if I say that, then I'll be fucking like gaslit as arrogant when I'm responding to arrogance with, a joke, an arrogant facade.
And you've written an article about class. Have you posted it yet? You're still working on it?
I've had it on the back burner for a while. Yeah, I do have a piece that I wrote on class. It's massive though. I think I want to turn it into something like maybe a series or something.
We need a book.
We need to write a book about class.
We need money for books.
We need money for books.
I've got enough information on my blog to be another 2 books, but we were talking about doing an article about class. I think we're so overwhelmed with things that we're each writing a separate article. Mine's taking forever too, because more subjects keep coming up.
Mine's probably ready, but I need to split it up, I think, because it's too long.
You could do part 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so I might do that. I might do like a series.
At my blog, though, I have an earlier article I wrote about class. So this one will be part 2, but I keep running into more ideas and I keep taking notes.
Yeah, I mean, here's one thing someone in the audience is talking about. Sarah, they build communities to have isolated cells where domestic violence and child abuse flourish. Yeah, so the suburbs, the whole middle class lifestyle, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely. This stuff goes on in all families because the family unit is fucked up.
Yes.
It needs to be abolished.
And most girls get sexually assaulted, which affects everybody for the rest of their lives. And that's the way the men want it, whether they're in collusion to do this or it just happens. It's one of the most destructive things, and they're marking territory on little girls' bodies, women's bodies, and everybody's altered.
Yeah.
And it creates a mind-body disconnect, which really
it sets you up to betray yourself too.
Are really happy to have that happen.
Yeah.
And just the way I just keep thinking about famous people that I do watch TV a lot.
Which is fine.
It's fun. But just like all these women that are in the Me Too movement who are famous, who are on these different talk shows and guests, and they're all wearing high heels and they can barely walk. The host has to hold their hand to help them up the stairs to be interviewed. I mean, why are women doing this? It's not comfortable. I've seen women policing women.
Oh God,
on television shows. Jennifer Lopez was telling with some young woman on American Idol who wanted to take the high heels off, and she said, "Don't ever do that." And Jennifer Lopez was one of the judges, and one of the men judges said, "Why can't she?" And she just answered, "Well, there are classes to teach them how to walk in them." These women are competing.
Teach them how to walk in them. It should not be something that you really need to learn how to walk in.
And the women are competing for a career, for money, and they're in high heels. They can barely stand or walk, and the men are grounded and have solid shoes on and are dressed in dignified clothes. And the women are encouraged to look as ridiculous and obscene and exposed as possible. I know this is a diversion, but it's also very class related.
It is. Well, yeah. I mean, just in general. I mean, a lot of the time I've noticed working class women give up femininity a lot sooner than like women or class privileged women do, because it's just, it gets in the way of a lot, doesn't it? Also, I mean, it depends, but
Now, we have a Nazi government now. They're really in control. And I was saying there were Nazis before it was as obvious as it is now. But interestingly, the population is changing. As much as they don't want abortion, their favorite group, the Euro descent people, are becoming a minority. And the other thing is the poverty class are becoming a majority. It's not going to take long. I mean, I know they want everybody to return to like the 19th century, and just about everybody except for the rich be serfs or slaves. But it's going to be interesting culturally how many the increase of the class oppressed. I mean, there's still some doing very well who are middle class. Oh, and one of the things, of course, is they con us all by telling the working class and poverty class that we're all middle class. The media forbids the word working class to even be said. Occasionally,
let alone
it is
poverty class.
Right.
Let alone, they won't talk about it. You're all middle class, and the middle class is suffering, aren't they? We're not middle class.
Right. And they're saying, and when they're talking about who voted for Trump, it's like the poorest people did not.
No,
they did
didn't.
not. And the very poorest is a group, African descent women, almost all voted for Hillary Clinton, which is very interesting. So I feel like if you're not sure where to vote, I'd say look at that group and see how they vote and do what they do, because they seem to be among the smartest women in
the country.
Yes. Yes. But it's very interesting how things are going in terms of the rich are terrified of the class privilege, so are the middle classes. I mean, the rich are terrified of the class oppressed, so are the middle classes.
As they should be. For one day we will revolt and take over and destroy all of them. And take their shit and redistribute it.
Wouldn't that be nice?
And recreate society. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
That would be nice. Yeah.
So that's good.
Are there more comments to answer?
Well, there's a lot of great comments. Let's see. One woman said she burnt all of her heels in a bonfire a few years back, and it was an amazing thing.
Aww.
Often doing something like that is powerful and symbolic. Is good. And there, a lot of them are just talking about how terrible heels are for you. Heels should be banned.
Yes.
Yeah, let's ban heels.
I mean, women or feminists who know about foot binding used to get really upset. Female vulval mutilation, but this is something that affects your feet, your back, your whole body.
It cripples you,
and it makes you look ridiculous. I mean, the whole thing. It's exactly what males want. Why do it? I know. Well, this becomes the whole other issue of why women betray themselves and other women to compete with women for men. And is that really what women should be doing?
No, not if you're a feminist.
But it explains why they wanted. And then, of course, as radical feminists, we know the whole con about what is said to be radical and liberal and brave and all that is porn, sadomasochism, and pornifying yourself.
Yeah.
And no woman who's self-loving would do that, even under the guise of being free and liberated, which is the con men have pulled on. So, I mean, soon as feminism began to be known, they were trying to undermine and take it over and shame women about it.
Yeah, I mean, we had that conversation earlier today with Linda, where she mentioned she mentioned the difference between her, like, mainly heterosexual women's group in 1968 and how supportive they were of her when she came out.
Yes.
And then, in the early 80s, then having to deal with the sadomasochists and the lesbian community. Talking about how oppressed they were for for not being allowed to wear skirts and heels and makeup, and how they were just going to celebrate who they were now.
They're like scab labor.
They're like scabs. That's how they should be treated, like scab labor. That's how seriously we should take this stuff, because it is serious.
Because one of the most horrible things for those who grew up in schools where you had to wear dresses or skirts is being exposed, vulnerable to rape, vulnerable to injury if you fell down, being constantly sexually harassed by boys in school, being cold depending where you lived. And that slowly changed. The more women that want male identified femininity, they're going to reinstate the old dress codes. They have in some places. If women want to keep their jobs, they have to look obscene and hurt their bodies. And why? Because that's what men want.
Yeah, Nicole, it's not just men, because men will do what they can to erase us. Women erase themselves. Think about the videos I did like last week where I talked about the ways which women censor themselves just to get along. Yeah. That's middle class behavior. That's respectability politics. You either believe what you believe and you put it out in the world, or you don't. So,
are there more comments?
Oh, there's tons.
Should I be able to look at them? I can't. This is where I need my big monitor.
I know. I'm sorry.
But it's all right.
Well, let's see. Okay. Heels were invented by aristocracy and appropriated by all the other classes because they're still a sign of being so wealthy you don't have to walk too long. Interesting. Nicole says she censors herself too much and she needs to stop. You do, because you have a right to say what you think.
Absolutely.
That's your right as a human being, to speak your truth. Hi, Manders. Thanks for being here. So Manders is here. She says hi. Carol G, that's the idea. It's meant to make us look aroused and vulnerable. Most importantly, it signals our conformity to and enthusiasm for male culture. They're talking about makeup.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
And obeying men.
Yeah, it's a big signal. Like I remember Leah and I were talking about femininity in the stream recently, and I said something like it signals to men that you're interested in them. You want their attention. And a lot of women are like, well, isn't that saying that women are asking for rape? No, it's not saying that they're asking to be raped. It's saying that how you present yourself says something about you, especially if you're feminizing yourself. Femininity is a big clue that men have that you might be interested in their attention.
Doesn't say you want rape, but you are doing what they want. You're obeying them.
You're obeying them,
which means you will be.
They want obedient women.
And this is the thing that often comes up, where the word misogyny is used to shame radical feminists. We're saying the truth, and because so many women don't not want to give up the privilege of looking feminine, including their power to compete and win over other women for men. So there's a whole thing about, well, I want to be able to dress as I want, and that doesn't mean I want to be attacked. But as somebody had said, it's like if you lay in this busy street and you've got hundreds of dollars of bills in your hand and you're just laying there, people are going to take it. And if you're walking down the street, like if you're visibly female from a long distance, like especially at night, you're far more vulnerable. People say it doesn't matter how you dress. It absolutely does matter. If you look like somebody they attack, they might get seriously hurt. They're less likely to attack you. So why would you want to follow male rules for whatever status you get when it does endanger you? It's a myth that it doesn't. Doesn't mean you're asking to be attacked, but it's like, why put yourself in danger when you don't need to?
Someone was mentioning the connection of femininity to class privilege as well, which is true. I mean, the class privilege have a lot more money to do femininity, and femininity is a way to access more privilege. So, I mean, yeah, oftentimes women will feminize in scenarios to look like they have money, which is, again, showing off and competing with other women. See, we have to think about these things seriously, because I wrote in my notes yesterday, there was one thing. What if people weren't like this? What if people weren't playing power games with each other? Don't we have a responsibility in the communities that are resistance communities to not be like that with each other? To be aware of it and to stop it? Stop trying to pull rank and be superior? Maybe it's important. So
if you won't do it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the crux with many of these issues. It's about betraying other women to get power and status.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say about class, poverty class and working class women have been conned into thinking part of expressing their class is to be feminine in particular ways and pornify themselves.
Yeah.
And that's another real con and trap. That you don't have to express your class identity and your solidarity with other class oppressed women by pornifying yourself and looking hot and feminine.
No.
So I was thinking of some music that seems to be promoting that. It's upsetting.
Well, lesbian femininity is a really big problem. Yeah, that's a big problem, because it also creates that divide within the lesbian community. We're talking about the feminist community generally, but it's a big problem just between lesbians and the privilege that feminine women wield within the lesbian community.
even while they're complaining.
And while they're complaining,
that they're oppressed over it, which they are not.
Oh God, yeah, that whole myth of like how femmes are oppressed. For what? Stop doing it then. It's a choice. It's a choice to feminize yourself. You can stop plucking your fucking eyebrows.
I know, that permanently alters your face. You're marked forever.
I know.
It's like something, it's very weird.
It's very weird how they do these things and then they say, well, then don't do them.
Exactly.
What do you think happens to women that don't do them? Don't you think they're more oppressed?
Mm-hmm.
It's just basic. It's so interesting, the reversals and the gaslighting and the mind fuckery that the middle class kind of tendencies.
There's this whole thing too about lesbians who pass as het are somehow oppressed because nobody knows they're lesbians. It's like, well, that's easy to solve. That's like any oppressed group is trying to pass to look like the dominant group. Mm-hmm. They're not, in other oppressed cultures, they're not considered victims. They're considered oppressors. Mm-hmm. But somehow among lesbians, the lesbians who look more het, I mean, how are they oppressed? And then they get upset that there's an assumption that they're going to be with men or go back to men, since most of them did choose men in the past. Yeah. And the fact is, that's actually based in reality. The hard femmes, some of the hard femmes I've known in my community did go back to men after years of being with lesbians. And once one of them did, a whole bunch of them then did out of this particular group. It's
okay, fact checker channel says something wrong. So we should probably respond to it.
Okay.
Shaving helps out with body odor for both genders, though. No, it doesn't.
What?
It makes you smell worse. What are you talking about?
What is this?
That removing your body hair makes you smell better for both genders.
Makes you
smell better. I think it means sexes too, but
makes you smell.
Plus, they make butches do all their heavy lifting.
Butches shouldn't be with femmes. There isn't much choice.
Well, but most lesbians are femmes. Yeah, that's
like 90% at least. That's a problem.
Yeah, no, that is a problem. God, I know. I can't tell you the amount of times. Oh God, you just hear these stories like from butch women about the ways in which they just been
oppressed.
Yeah, and so just oppressed, and they don't even often have language for it, which is why I'm so grateful for your work, because it just puts a fucking name to this phenomenon that you see going on and the inequality going on. Trying.
One of the problems too is lesbians don't know who's butch or femme. The women pushed in the media as being butch or not.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been noticing that some performers who are femme really do look like dykes. They're dyke femmes. That's good.
Yeah.
There should be more. But then some who are like an obscene caricature, like Leah DeLaria, is not butch. She has said on the radio she's femme. I think she's changing now because that's part of her show and her trying to get whatever she tries to get. I mean, she's a performer, money. But there've been a number of like photo things. They're very S&M connected that theoretically are showing butches. And some head women have done these. And it's interesting online. We've looked at them. Like there's one, I forget her name, Meg Allen, and she will be showing, there'll be like 3 pictures of each woman. And so you can see more easily. You usually can tell who's butch or femme by one photo. Yeah. So there they are. They're like 90% femme, posturing as butch. Carrying a whip around does not make you butch. Being a sadomasochist does not make you butch. Making yourself look ridiculous doesn't make you butch. It's something you choose in childhood.
It's the opposite of a performance. It's the opposite of a style. That's the thing I want to drill. Because a lot of the times, like women are like, "Well, I don't like want to butch up or some bullshit." It has nothing. You're never going to be butch. You either are butch or you're not. Okay. Sorry.
There's an old friend who I hadn't been in touch with. I just knew a little bit before she moved away. We visited a few months ago. And she comes from a leftist background, but strongly identifies as radical feminist. Though when I mentioned class, she started spouting Marx. She started like trying to prove she was working class, which she's not. But about 30 years ago, she told me I shouldn't identify as butch. And I brought that up, and that the whole thing freaked her out because she was at a Joanne Llewellyn workshop, who was a bisexual in our community, who was pushing role playing and sadomasochism and porn. So what she finally was saying, it was like she seemed to finally think it was okay that I identify as butch, but she didn't want to identify as femme. She was trying to figure out how she could prove she was butch. And I said, it's too late. It's a choice made in girlhood, and you go through hell for it. And almost every woman, including some of the most extremely hard femme movie stars, will say they were tomboys. Almost everybody will have some story about how they were not feminine.
Oh, I can't.
But it's not true.
I can't tell you the number of femmes I've heard say they were tomboys. I wasn't a tomboy.
I hated that word.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't have anything to do with being identified as
and
boys.
what the hell is a tomboy anyway? Yeah, like, you know, I had some male friends when I was a child, I guess, that were just children my age in the neighborhood. That term is just ridiculous anyway, but yeah. Anyway, we're getting off topic, I feel, with that. I don't want to go into the tomboy thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. The number of women that do that.
According to who did Tipping the Velvet, Sarah Waters.
Sarah Waters, yeah.
The book Tipping the Velvet, there's a whole thing in there, and I don't know if this is true with being English.
Oh, like
last
the
century
term
yes, as being a term for lesbians. Now that's kind of interesting if that had carried over, at least in the US, to what a tomboy was. But it's interesting. I've known a lot of femmes who said they wish they were boys growing up. I did not want to be identified as male in any way. I, for the most part, hated boys. I saw them, they were the horrible monsters. I like monsters as mythological creatures, but these cruel, sadistic beings who were torturing girls, tortured animals, sexually assaulted animals, and were just basically killed animals, basically made our lives hell. I don't want to be identified with them. So I'm always puzzled when women say they did. Now that's really different than, of course, wanting equality and being able to do and have what only boys are allowed to have.
Yeah.
But
Leah says that monsters are greater than men.
Yes, monsters. Depends what kind of monsters, but yeah.
Yeah.
I love spiders, rats, and many hated creatures.
But they're not monsters. They're sweet.
No, people think they are.
Yeah. The devil is greater than men. I know. Leah.
I know. Wish we could meet and hang out.
I know. Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Okay. So
other things?
Yes.
Anything? I can't see it, so just so everybody knows, Terry will convey whatever it is we're missing.
Well, let's see if I can make it bigger.
Okay.
I probably can.
Okay. I feel very far away from it.
Okay. But don't lesbians like women with high heels? No.
Only if they're like incredibly male identified. Liking other male identified women.
Yeah, like
it's usually femmes liking femmes instead of the majority.
Yeah.
I don't. I think they look like idiots and it's ugly as shit. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, that's a stereotype. It's lesbian.
Yeah, when I see a woman in heels, I think she's a fucking like idiot, to be honest. No offense, but you're a fucking idiot if you're doing that to yourself.
You can take any oppressed group. I mean, I've had a friend who keeps asking me, why do butches prefer hard femmes? I was like, I don't. I don't want to be anywhere near them. I don't trust them to even be decent friends. But there are all these stereotypes. But you can take any oppressed group and say, why do they want to be with those that are oppressors, their oppressors, or look like them?
Yeah.
And it goes across all lines of oppression and privilege.
Yeah, I mean,
it's about self-hatred.
It's about self-hatred, and it's about trying to get out of oppression a lot of the time too. Like Ancient Spirits was talking about, she's femmed up a lot of the time to make money and to like be kind of pass as a different class. It's the same thing, if you're associated, if you're in a partnership with a hard femme as a butch, let's just say, like, you're going to be treated better. That's just by mainstream society. It's going to fit into their little narrative about what lesbianism is about, and their fucking, projections. So, I mean, you're treated better, you're accepted more, you are loving the right kind of woman. You know,
Mhm.
you're not, it's the same thing, you know, and yeah, so it's the same thing with like, you know, Black women, like the level of feminization they're expected to go through, the ways they're expected to alter their appearance to look more white.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's exactly like that.
So there's a couple things. One woman asked if you were ever in contact with any Mexican lesbian separatists, because she brought up knowing about 4 different lands in Mexico, one of which was destroyed
No,
because of government harassment.
no.
No.
I'd love to know. I don't know much about any kind of lesbian land in the US either,
Yeah.
but I don't associate that with separatism necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, I know some separatists in Europe on land that's their private land, but no, I would love to know about
Yeah.
this. That would be fantastic.
So CNZ, is that you, Charlie? How do you think young lesbians can reconnect with our elders? I noticed women, both younger and older, are distressed there's a gap, which is present lots of places. So how do we connect with each other?
Let's be together and
Get on Facebook and meet up with one of them.
for one thing, I hate the word elder, but that's
Yeah,
another issue.
yeah,
But
yeah,
thank you. Well, we have a huge age difference and we're friends.
yeah.
And the other, some of the other radical feminists and lesbians in the groups we moderate on Facebook or tend to be younger.
Yeah.
So my closest friends are 20s, 30s. Some are older. So the connection is definitely there. What's interesting to me is I don't see a divide in terms of language communication or politics with friends that are decades younger than me.
That's very interesting. I think, yeah, I mean, in terms of me, I personally, I pursue looking for women politically to like make friendships and connections with. So, I mean, you can do that. That will often put you in contact with women across ages, you know, or across age. So, I don't know what else to really say about it.
In other countries and cultures, it's really nice to know because the training, just that whole culture stories are telling us stuff. The young women are with them and support them. It's not true.
No, we're not. No.
And
not by a fucking mile, dude.
They just lie. So yeah, but I love the international connection and that we are across age lines.
I mean, I think the thing is too, I mean, and you have to think as well, like what kind of community do you want to have? I want to have a community where all women are welcome.
Yes.
Like all lesbians are valued, respected together, sharing resources, sharing knowledge, sharing wisdom, sharing everything they have. So yeah, so she says, fair. I guess I noticed some lesbian women decades older than me, early 20s, feeling like they weren't doing enough or similar. So I want to show them some love. So she's in her early 20s. So, well, we all feel like we're not doing enough.
Are you from Aotearoa?
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
Yeah, no, she's been doing some cool stuff. You should. Okay. If you're on Facebook, you should hit her up, send her a friend request.
How to find her? Or you could find me and do a friend request.
Yeah. Bev has a great collection of friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a very old dear friend in Aotearoa who I finally did see again after 30 years in October.
Yeah, if you haven't read her book, Charlie, you should check out her book because one of the contributors was a woman from there. So yeah, she wrote about the lesbian separatist community, which is very radical. So you could get into touch with some of the history there, and they're still out there. You know, they're around.
Hillary says her community's gone, and it was not separatist, but it was. They were the only lesbians I've ever heard of in the world who had regular lesbian only events. Their events were lesbian only, and I think that culture was very much influenced by Maori lesbians, Butch lesbians, lifelong lesbians. There were a high percentage of them in that community, and I think it really affected the very good politics that Rustin brought to our book. Because Linda and I had the politics, we sure didn't have the support, but it was amazing about Aotearoa. Of course, got the vote, if not the first in the world, very close.
I think they were the first woman to get the vote.
Somebody else said one of the island nations was, but could be Aotearoa. So there's a myth here that older lesbians are more aware, and that's not my experience. There's a huge amount of them came out quite late in life after living quite comfortably and helped make a segregated community in terms of that's a big issue about class is events unaffordable, and when it's segregated based on class, so we can't go because we can't afford it. It's also segregated based on race, disability, in any way that makes you be poorer. So that's something not being dealt with.
So I feel like this is a fluff question, but I want to know which show Bev Jo likes.
On television? Oh my.
So yeah, what are some of your favorite shows right now, Bev?
Well, I'm finding television way better than films for the most part. I saw Wonder Woman recently. I don't pay for it. I was set up. I get free HBO on Showtime. I get cable, love my TV. And it was just appalling on so many levels. So the TV series, there's been a lot that have been kind of fun and interesting. I've been liking Killing Eve, although they really played with us.
Mm-hmm.
That was very bad. It was short. Was it 6, 7 episodes? It's supposed to come back, but really it looked like it was going to be a lesbian story. Actually, well, we're talking about TV, right? Not films.
Yeah, TV. Well, I mean, whatever you've been watching lately that you like.
There's kind of a trashy movie that was with Charlize Theron, who is called Atomic Blonde, and she's this agent, and there's all this, the fighting, and she can fight these whole groups of men. It was interesting for me as somebody who used to teach self-defense that she's using common objects as weapons, fighting these whole gangs of men. But what I was amazed at was there was, unless I missed it, I don't think I fell asleep, no het sex scene at all. There was a very tender, loving love scene between that character and another woman. So that was a surprise. I wouldn't pay to go see it, but I didn't have to pay. In terms of TV, there's so many things. I should make a list. I've liked The Americans, which is over now. That's the story about KGB agents who are passing as U.S. people. That went on like 6 seasons. I really liked it. I mean, I don't like the het fucking sex scenes that are in almost everything now, but kind of have to put up with that. Wow. I've watched Homeland. Gets tedious after a while.
Did you watch The Handmaid's Tale? Because someone's asking about that. No. I watched some of it. I had to stop about the 5th or 6th episode because it was just, I got tired of all the rape.
I'd have to pay for a different service.
Yeah, so.
I haven't. Someday I will. Oh, I've liked Orange is the New Black, and I've liked Wentworth.
Oh yeah, those are great.
Wentworth
was, ooh. That's a good show.
Strangely, it had some of the most beautiful lesbian love connection.
Yeah, it did.
And it had some of the most butch hating stuff I've ever seen, both.
Yeah.
So, but I watched it all. God, there's so much TV.
There's another question. I think
so much TV.
What can het and bi women do to respect and help lesbians in feminism more?
Stop being het and bisexual.
Yeah, stop being het. It's a choice. So let's talk about
especially that. Bisexuals.
Yeah, I mean, if you're bisexual, it's you have a choice.
I mean, why would you want to be with a male?
Yeah.
And
other than privilege.
And you're betraying not just lesbians, but other women.
Yeah. So you should stop.
We have there in our group, there's some het women, radical feminists who, one is a very dear friend. I love her dearly. So she's just very supportive. She writes stuff. If we need support, she's there. She's class oppressed. I feel real connection with her. She's very much against motherhood.
Yeah.
Feel a connection with her. She's good support. So she's been good support, but ideally to not be heterosexual.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of women are tied up with survival in terms of having gotten themselves into situations with males, and that's part of how they survive. Yeah. So that's kind of like a prostitute situation.
So yeah.
But that's another.
So in that situation, I would say, yeah, I mean, try to get out of that situation. Yeah. Do what that would, part of it is, you're never going to be able to think and work clearly if you're in that sort of situation. Just
for your own safety, because women are most likely to be killed. Women who are murdered are killed by the men they're in relationships with. and they never think it'll be them, but that's another issue too.
I mean, ancient spirits is like, can I adopt a child? I can afford it. It's not just about affording it. Why do you want to, like, okay. I mean, I get why somebody would want to adopt a child, but I don't think you should.
If you want to help women or females, put your energy into helping
help women that don't have children. Help women that are struggling. Put your energy, your money, and your resources into helping other women.
I can understand wanting to rescue a girl, but odds are very likely you're going to raise an enemy.
Yeah.
Who will hate you and then have power over you.
Yeah.
And will be harming others. But better than getting pregnant, definitely.
Definitely, but you know, why do you want to be a mother anyway? Like, you should be putting that vital energy. I mean, this is the thing, you know, this is my theory. What happened with like the lesbian community, a big part of it, I feel, was that lesbians started having kids.
Yes.
And then they took all their money, time, energy out of the community, put it in their private nuclear family. Yes. We need to dismantle the nuclear family. It's a place of, it's a coercive structure. You're immediately put into this situation where you have to non-consensually deal with people who are often abusive and have way more power over you as a child. Like, it's just, Leah says, saying you want to adopt a child is like saying, I hope a mother and child somewhere are separated so I can have her child.
The thing is, too, it will change you because it's an unequal relationship. And women who are doing that with good intentions end up expecting and enjoying and different aspects of being used to an unequal relationship, which will affect your relationships with other women. It's like we talk about how you can, I mean, I have some wonderful friends who are mothers, but it does alter everybody who does that, unless they're really careful. Even then, there are things that happen that aren't always good. You get used to inequality.
And also, ancient spirits, though, a lot of adult women don't have anyone.
Yes,
that's true. In terms of, you know, that's the other thing. Like, you have to think about it. It's a real thinker. It's just not. There's this idea that it's just like the nice, right thing to do. Well, think about what you really want to be doing with your life and energy. If do you want to be raising a kid, or do you want to be building like a community that can help, you know, women? Because you have the choice of helping one individual girl or helping many women.
Which can help girls.
Which helps
if you
all
change
girls.
The whole society.
You can change the society, which will eventually help all girls.
It's the liberal,
you know,
choice rather than radical, that it's personal instead of political. So
even when the relationship is non-violent, het relationships stymie radical feminism. It's an investment in male culture, whether you like it or not. Unhappy face.
Yes, true, very true.
True. We got a lot of smart women in here today.
They are. We missed anything because I still can't.
Oh, we've missed a ton. But I mean, like,
should we go back?
Let's go back a little bit.
There's so many things, and I still want to talk about television.
If you want to keep going about television,
have to really, but
the domestic violence shelters are always full of women about to be killed by their male partners where I live.
So make sure
adopt dogs, not kids. Adopt rats.
Don't dogs. Oh my God, no.
Adopt rats.
Yeah, rats. Oh my God, they're
Carol
smarter
G
than anybody.
Wants a shout out. Hi, Carol G.
That's our Carol.
That's our Carol.
Hi, Carol.
I knew she'd be trolling.
We're in Carol's house.
Yeah, hi, Carol. Thanks for letting us stream for your house.
We're gonna have a party tomorrow because of Carol. We love Carol.
We love Carol. Thank you, Carol.
I'm so glad I met Carol. She's darling. So what was the other thing? There was dogs. It's really a problem because again, women with good intentions.
That's true.
They're in an abusive relationship to retrain the dog and control the dog. And I've seen some scary stuff. The yelling, they don't want to beat them, but they got to control them. And it's like it's an enormous amount of work and energy. And a friend of mine who raised his son on her own said it's harder having a dog. And the amount of money is massive. Yeah, Doris said that. She did.
Oh, Elizabeth Pittman is about to adopt 3 rats in a few weeks. Oh, I'm so glad we have some rat lovers here. That's how Bev and I became friends.
Is it?
Yeah, you sent me a
rats.
friend request and a message about how you noticed that I liked rats.
Oh,
And then I
wow.
was like,
Rats? Well, there's a temple in India. People do worship them. Rats to me are among the most amazing. I've only had females. The love, the commitment, everything about, to me, they're smarter than almost anybody else. Um, they will die for each other. They can die from grief if someone they love dies. They smell really good. I mean, you can get crazy ones that are not very happy with you, and the wild rats are wonderful too. Of all the animals,
I love rats. They're incredible beings. Like, just once you get to know them,
they don't live long. So
they don't live long.
If you keep going, you get to learn many things from many individuals. And they don't treat you like, they're not like subservient or act weird like dogs can.
Yeah,
I've seen interesting wolves who have been raised as pets, and half wolf, dog wolf, coy dog, who seem much more sane and present and all. But rats, they don't relate to you like you got. They know you have power, but they try to relate to you as an equal. It's amazing.
Their eyes.
Oh God, everything about them.
Okay, let's not go. Yeah, their little hands.
And rat
their
kisses.
Whiskers, their kisses.
We don't have rats now. We're really.
No.
We're
deprived.
I would love to have rats.
We are deprived.
I'm feeding wild animals. I could work with wild animals because I'm not allowed to have rats. Squirrels are pretty good though if you friend them.
Ravens and crows are amazing. I've been befriending the crows in my neighborhood.
Oh God, yes. Corvids. Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
They're yeah. Oh, and squirrels. Squirrel climbs through the window, runs up to me, pats my foot. She's locked in the house, but she trusts. And I have to feed her outside, so I bring the food out. She keeps coming back, but I would love to have her just be in the house with me. They're similar to rats.
Yeah.
They have similar qualities.
They do have similar qualities.
But you can't really have them as a
So we should talk about the born this way versus choice stuff, because we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but we didn't really go into why it's wrong. Because some women were like, well, what can we do to be
ravens?
Well, yeah.
They have no bladder? Who?
Probably rats. I don't know.
Oh, they sure do.
They do have bladder.
Plague? No. That was a myth. People died from bubonic plague. It wasn't really that. People are saying it was actually anthrax. But in terms of the rats supposedly spread the plague, they're not the same species as the pet rat, which is Rattus norvegicus. This was Rattus from India.
Yeah.
We're very lucky in California. We have both species. Plague isn't an issue now at all. The California ground squirrel can have plague. It's endemic. Maybe one person a year gets it. Very easy to treat with antibiotics.
Oh, one woman, Mander says, I notice wild animals stay away from men or women who give off a male vibe or smell. Well, yeah.
That makes
I wonder
sense.
why.
Yeah.
And also, all the scented products, there's another male smell as well. But
oh yeah, they talk about marking yourself with males marking territory crap, all the toxic chemicals, which makes our communities inaccessible. Have we missed anything about rats?
No, I think we're okay.
Okay, what else? There's so much stuff here.
Oh, hey, I love you, Bev Jo. I'm 55 and have been following you for a long time.
Who are you? Who? Where are you?
She's right.
Oh. Well, thank you. Email me, get in touch. Are you local? Can we hang out and meet?
Yeah.
We need more in our community. Oh,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh.
Who Texas. Else?
Yeah.
Well, there's women in Austin too. So
you're holding into dead energy by having long hair?
Yeah.
Is that your buddy?
Yeah, that's Leah.
That's a scream. I like that.
I know. She's very knowledgeable about all the femininity stuff. Like, she's taught me stuff. Like, and I'm a know-it-all.
You look much better now.
I know. She helped me.
That's wonderful. Leah. That is wonderful. Can't afford a haircut. I cut my own. I wouldn't pay money for that.
Yeah, I did that.
It's not hard. I mean, if you don't mind looking like sort of a stereotype ex-het femme, which the buzz cut, clippers work really well, but I cut my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, treat yourself. You'll think about all the money you spend on doing your hair as it fucking is.
And the products.
Save the money, go to a barber, get your hair cut.
Yeah. Buzz cuts, yeah, it's okay. To me, I'm always wary.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
so many of
it
them
is
are
kind of
playing.
a femme look.
But
Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah.
but it's better than like having all that dumb hair. Oh God, I had this woman recently. Just let
Leah
me
says
tell
the
you.
$20 for clippers.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're cheap.
Oh,
And you
yeah.
can do all kinds of
You
things
can do
with
it whenever you
clippers.
want.
You don't have to like shave your entire head either. You can just do all kinds of looks with clippers. Yeah, it's easy.
So what were you going to say?
Oh, this woman, like, so, you know, she had her hair like long, she had long hair and it was like tied, but it was on the side hanging off because she has to show off, you know.
Oh,
And it wasn't
yeah.
like properly like braided up or anything, you know, to be clean, of course. Anyway, so she kept walking past me and her hair kept like scraping my arm and like, oh, it was so dirty. It was so nasty. Yes, we should look like dykes, Carol. And thank you for looking like a dyke.
Is that our Carol?
That's our Carol.
Carol looks like a lovely dyke. That's how I met her.
She's a lovely dyke.
I thought, who is this Butch? She's really nice. We became friends. Oh my goodness.
See, this is how are you supposed to see your own kind if you're not visible?
Can you share thoughts of Sheila Jeffries? I could. I'm a bad person. I never look like that. Who do I answer first?
Who said they're bad?
Ancient spirits. I don't know what she's saying.
What will you never look like? A dyke?
Put it up in a bun. You want to look het. It's feminine. I know men are doing it now. That's kind of a joke.
What is there to say about Jeffries?
I can tell a story about Sheila.
Yeah,
she trashes us. She plagiarizes from our work. Linda and Russ and I met her in the 80s. She came to visit at our house. I don't remember if she'd had a book out yet. We had a wonderful visit for hours. We talked about being against porn and sadomasochism and how the sadomasochists in London were like really harassing her. We agreed. It was so nice. And then she wanted to talk about, quote, Butch and Femme. And we looked at each other and were like, oh, no. Because this is the issue. It's like if you're with het women and the issue of being a lesbian comes up, it's like how they don't know you are. I don't know. But, you know, it's like all this lesbian hating and lesbophobia happens. Same thing if the issue of so-called Butch and Femme, which means it looks like there's role playing and butches are supposed to be with femmes. So we were like, oh, let's not now.
Yeah.
And so what she wanted to find out is, did we think of it in terms of role playing or that it was a choice made in girlhood, I think is where it was going. And as soon as she realized that we had politics about it, she was like, I'm leaving. Started to call a cab. I'm trying to plead with her. We've gotten along. Like, why is this happening? I ended up driving her back to where she was staying in Berkeley. Would not speak to me. And I think it's because she doesn't want to think about the fact that she's femme. She looks like a dyke. Yeah. And I'm a little confused about why, even though she's been teaching in Australia for years. And when we met her, she sounded to us very working class, English accent. When I've ever heard her online, she sounds like she's upper class English, which is a tiny minority in England. Class people are really aware of class, and you can. People do not lose the class oppressed accents usually. Glenda Jackson did, but for a reason. So that was another thing that was freaky about Sheila. We agree about so much. It's painful to read her stuff. A little bit I feel like she's been hostile to us, but has lifted stuff. And we were willing to talk with her, and she brought up a topic and basically ran away, which reminds me of when I was in high school and trying to talk to friends about, could I be a lesbian? What does that mean? And they stopped relating to me.
Yeah.
Feels exactly the same. So that's Sheila.
Yeah.
So in terms of reading her stuff, what I've seen, it's like I agree against the trans cult and all. But
are there sources that critique her work? I don't really know. What do you think of the concept of a long-haired butch? Is it not actually a thing as far as you're concerned?
Some butches do have long hair.
Some butches have long hair.
They want to make their lives easier. They want
hair grows too.
Yeah. And some say it's because of their culture.
Yeah.
And I feel mixed about that.
I feel mixed
because I know some from the same culture have very short hair.
Yeah.
To me, it's a way of being more acceptable. But
yeah.
So.
I mean, I don't know about sources, feminist sources that critique her work. I don't think a lot of women want to critique. I mean, when we're talking about women who are going up against the trans cult, there's a big resistance to criticizing them a lot of the time because it's such important work, and so, but yeah, I mean, there's some problems. Obviously, she thinks Butch and Femme are about role playing, which it's not. It's about understanding Butch oppression.
I think she knows different. That's why she freaked out.
Yeah.
She really was like a het woman or a girl who was terrified of the thought of being a lesbian or that being a topic.
I mean, yeah, and I have to say a lot of the criticisms of just a lot of the lesbian feminist criticisms of Butch and Femme are completely lesbian hating. When you're, and you have to even think of like even criticizing Butches for being with like hard femmes sometimes. Like, how hard is it to find a partner as a lesbian? And if you're thinking about like the old lesbian community too, working class, like, not even, out when it was acceptable to be out. You have these like ex-het lesbian feminists a lot of the time writing about how awful these women were and how into role playing where they were. They found ways to love each other. All right. Women found ways to be together. It's about creativity. They found the creativity when a lot of women were in the closet or just, so it's just, I find that stuff really hateful. It's hateful. It's lesbian hating. It's what it is, and we have to address it. Like, should feminine women stop? Yeah. But
about Sheila, I haven't read her work. I mean, I used to
read quite a bit. So
almost all feminist stuff. And then I got bored because I wasn't learning anything, or I got very aggravated by what was being said for various reasons, classes and other things. But yeah, if you want to ask certain things like, she says this, what do you think about it? We can answer that. Somebody asked how old we are.
Yeah, so I'm 32.
And I'm 67. And and my dear friend Linda, who co-wrote the book, is 76. And has survived 3 separate cancers. If anybody wants support about that, she's available. Whoops, it's going too fast. There was something else I wanted to answer. Can we go back and look?
Yeah, we can go back.
Oh, there was something you. Oh, I know.
I'm so afraid
okay. Well, they're not really. But if they've got feminism, they don't want to identify.
Femmes are afraid to be femmes other than feminist ones.
They can try and look as dykey as possible.
You should look as dykey.
Tig Notaro does that.
Yeah.
And minus the makeup, you can, when she's not like, I'm trying to think the other famous femmes in the media, Ellen DeGeneres, Rachel Maddow. They're femmes who look like
women are Butch.
Right.
That's how bad it is. That's how bad the femme privilege is. That women who just look like lesbians are somehow considered Butch.
I wanted to say something about the old lesbian.
I'm not saying anything.
Bar community that had role playing. The girl I was in love with when I was 5, who was 4.5 years older than me, when I was about 12, she was, how old was she? 16. Is a little bit older, 14. She left her parents' house and she found a lesbian community. This would have been 1963. It was in Cincinnati. It was a bar community. And I visited her. She's this very young butch, working class. They drew her into this community that would look like it was dominated by bisexual femme prostitutes. Some were mothers. She was in love with her best friend who was butch. That was not allowed. But these other women were really dominating the community, which is a different version of kind of some of what's happening now. And that was really interesting. So that did exist, but a lot don't realize that part of wanting to keep that role playing going was it suited the bisexuals and the hard femmes.
Yeah, well, they get to drain all your incredible like butch energy. That's what it is.
And in terms of it, the whole issue about prostitution, which I don't want to get into really, but she, as this teenage butch, working class, trying to work for survival, talked to some of the women saying, you're only going to be able to do this for a few years. You're going to time out. Why don't you go to college? Because at this point, you could go for free. There are things you could do to get a career. And it was like a lark for them. And most of the ones I've known who've done prostitution unless they were absolutely desperate, like a friend who was a runaway at 15. It was a lark, and they were middle class. They did have other options. So I just want to put that out there, because if you say anything like that, you're called misogynist. We are not allowed to think about it. We're not allowed to talk about it. But those women really influenced her.
Yeah.
This is before I found the lesbian community, before we connected again, because I got moved to California when I was 15, didn't see her for some years. And she basically, it really terrified and damaged her. And she ended up being very isolated away from lesbians. Yeah.
That's terrible.
I know. So there's that. So is there what other things? They make Rachel wear makeup. I know. She could probably say no to some extent, but I recognize that she doesn't have to wear such a low cut thing.
Yeah, I want to respond to Ancient Spirits.
Okay.
People think I'm a model even with short hair and no makeup. I'm doomed. Okay.
What?
So I just want to respond to that. Okay.
They think she's a model?
So why does that mean
I'm
you
sorry.
should? I mean, why does that mean you should have long hair and wear makeup? Though?
Are you bragging?
I feel. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm a very pretty faced girl. Just in general, I still make efforts to not practice femininity because it's bad for me, and it's bad for all women.
What does it mean to look like a model?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, any girl can be turned into a model pretty much. What does that mean? Yeah, I know. I don't. See, that's an excuse.
Seems like bragging.
That's an excuse. Okay.
You can look like a dog.
Be real. Look in the mirror and be real with yourself. Don't bring your excuses to me. Okay. Do whatever you want. It's your life. It's your choice. But don't bring me your excuses. Okay. Because it's just not.
You dress like a lesbian. You can act like a lesbian.
You're doomed. Yeah. Plenty of lesbians are look. Whatever. I don't know.
What is this? You're doomed. What is it? You're doomed. No, you're. What does that mean? You can look like a dog.
Yeah. Don't you get more attention for looking feminine?
Your personal choices exist. It's all a choice.
You get less attention when people don't look like hyper feminine.
What are you getting from it?
So Vivian Diaz says, I can't believe she's watching a live with Bev Jo. Heart greetings from Brazil.
Hello.
So welcome.
Oh, that's Brazil. Wonderful. Oh, I love the international connections.
Yes, thank you for all the international women being here. It's very heartening to see.
We've got some other friends in Brazil.
Another thing about
somebody in Brazil is translating our book.
There's some great lesbians in Brazil. I love them.
Can you
love to visit them?
Can you find me on Facebook, and then we can do email, or do know with Facebook I keep getting locked out 30 days at a time. So
get her email.
I like to do email, but yeah, if you don't know, Mari could put you in touch. She's translating our book.
They could write to me too.
What was that?
They could write to me too. I'm
yes, of course.
So Nicole said, like with femmes who claim to be, what do you think about BDS? Oh wait, no.
What?
So there's a couple things.
What do you think of BDS? It's done horrific damage. I call it, in our book, we call it sadomasochism. We have they used to say S/M, because that takes away from sadism and masochism. So we did kind of like SM could do equals kink equals BDSM equals it's sadomasochism.
Yeah.
It's done tremendous damage to our community. It's addictive. Women who start, I think they start some maybe from trauma, but some because they're bored and they're trying to make things exciting, and they don't know how to feel unless they do it.
It doesn't matter why they're doing it.
I've heard every line possible, and it's not good.
Yeah.
And the connection with porn and the trans cult, it's very much connected.
Leah and I were talking about this, with the whole thing with femininity and a lot of the pain that a lot of this the feminine clothing, like for example, heels does. Women's bodies get you get a rush from being in pain, and it's addictive.
Ooh.
So this is part of the whole, you're putting makeup on your face, which is full of chemicals, which are hurting you. It's giving you a chemical rush to your brain. It's S&M. It's all S&M.
Somebody I knew said it's so unnatural because babies don't want pain. They avoid pain. Animals avoid pain.
Yeah.
But
about women chase pain.
It's propaganda. Is there a way to raise this up?
We could raise it up. We could put it on this thing.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know we're kind of
I feel like we're in pits.
We're in pits. All right, so we're gonna raise ourselves up. Yeah. Women raising themselves up.
I could bring some books over.
Yeah, you could bring some books over. Beth brought some books over for me to check out. So bring them over. Let's look at them.
Pile them up. Can we get
how
higher?
much?
Would you want it
Oh,
higher, or is this good?
well, how do you feel? You're the one who wanted it. You want it higher? We can make it higher. We can make it higher. Get the books.
Should
Yeah.
I go get them?
All right. Interval. Small interval.
Yes, I'll be right back. You can keep talking.
So I'll talk to them.
I don't want to miss any of the comments.
Oh yeah, someone was saying something about like femmes who don't want to admit they're femmes, like, and then especially in the feminist community. Yeah, it's a problem. You need to be responsible for the privilege you do have. Would you, okay, let's say we were talking about like class privilege. If you're middle class, own it. If you're white, own it. Or you have white privilege, own it. Yeah, let's raise it. So it's just about that, you know. You can defeminize. There are things you can do to yeah. Oh, this is better, isn't it, everyone? Yeah, they're more even.
We could do even more, get a little pedestal. I want to say too, be very careful, because one thing I've seen happen is after this whole subject is talked about, some femmes start bullying other femmes, acting like they're less femme.
Yeah.
And I've seen this happen about other issues. That issue becomes important in the a little segment of the community, because this isn't an issue most want to deal with. They do it about class and other issues. So don't let anybody bully you about the issue. They sincerely need to admit to and be dealing with it as well.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you're against the trans cult and you don't want to support men in any way, saying they're women, completely stop being feminine or passing as het, because they fetishize that. That's their focus. Hard femininity, they're like drag queens. They really fetishize it. If no woman looked those male-identified feminine ways, the trannies would be glaring. I mean, usually we can spot them easily from a photograph a mile away, but the ones with money are getting facial surgery. They're having their skulls shaved down. They're having all this stuff done. I mean, they still are really obvious, but it gives them no place to hide, nothing to fetishize.
Yeah.
So if you want to stop them, that is connected.
I mean, this is the thing that really irritates me when I see these hyper feminine women with like long hair. The other day, one with red lipstick who was like, I'm against gender. I'm like, you're not against gender.
Right.
You're practicing gender.
Exactly.
That's gender.
Exactly.
How are you going to criticize someone else for doing something that you do too? Come on. Come on. So what is your take on the idea that radical feminism doesn't do a very good analysis on race? I'm always very frustrated in discussing with intersectional feminists about this. This is a very big deal here in Brazil.
Well, I would say that's erasing the radical feminists who are racially oppressed first.
Yeah.
They're around, they've written books. And intersectional is an academic word that came much, much later. Original lesbian feminism talked about making it really clear we're against racism, we're against classism, we're against all oppression. And it's not, I don't like the term intersectional. I understand kind of what it means, but it kind of, it's a bit of a middle class removal. So what was the rest of it?
It's a big deal in the liberal feminist movement. I mean, there was recently, sister, whereas a woman with my class background or a Black woman would never have been able to get away with saying a lot of this stuff, So to see like women actually held accountable for their racism, it's a problem in all feminist communities. We all have a responsibility, regardless of our ideology, to just challenge racism. So it's not like the liberals are doing better. Their analysis doesn't, I mean, that's how I would address it. Like, really, that's lazy thinking, and it's scapegoating other women too for your own work. Like, you white women are racist. No, all white women.
Yeah, and I would say to check out the radical feminists of color online, like Ree Walker, also known as Rena Walker, does Misogyny Exposed. There's lots of it's primarily African descent women, and a lot of them are radical feminists. So.
Well, this is the problem too. Elizabeth just pointed out, liberal feminists treat the word intersectional like it's something you can be, not a way of analysis.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing with radical feminism. People treat it like an identity as opposed to an analysis. And our connection is unstable. How great. We may have to go live again.
Leah said something.
Oh, we may have to.
Somebody asked if I knew Mary Daly too.
Well, wait, because
Okay.
we're not the connections.
Okay.
Can anyone hear us? Can I just say that? Can you all hear us?
Glitchy.
Are we back?
Better now. Thank you.
So yeah, somebody brought up Mary Daly. Were you and Mary Daly friends?
No. Part of my thing of Mary Daly was I'd written some of the earliest separatist stuff. She never had anything to do with me or wanted to contact me or anything. So I'm like, she's an academic, she's privileged. That's they don't talk to people like us, but maybe she just didn't know somehow. I don't know. I've heard things about her. I don't know. I mean, I think some of her work is good.
Okay, so Vivian, you missed the whole explanation of what I was saying. Okay, let me just kind of succinctly put it up because it's important. All right.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. This is how I feel about that. This is what I think about that. All white women, regardless of their ideology, have work to do unpacking racism. And I think it's ridiculous to scapegoat radical feminists more than any other feminist community for having that issue. Secondly, there's many radical feminists of color, just, it erases them as well. So you can't allow that to happen. You can't allow women's radicalism to be erased. It's hard enough to be like a radical white woman, let alone imagine when you're dealing with multiple oppressions. You cannot erase the profoundness of that, for one. So that's just racist in itself, obviously. But I mean, the main thing I think is just, it's the thing. It's that passing the buck of responsibility for racism onto other women. No, we all have work to do as white women. That's just period. That's it. Period. Yeah. No, it's stupid. It's a way of slandering, and it's a way of dismissing. It's not even true. So I don't know. That kind of nonsense is. When I hear that, I'm hearing, okay, this person passes responsibility for doing anti-racist work. What I'm hearing is this person scapegoats other women as racist to not deal with their own racism. That's what I'm hearing with that. Because are there problems with racism within radical feminist movement? Yeah, anywhere where white women and women of color are interacting, this stuff will come up. And this is why it's important to have an analysis about it. Yeah. I mean, yeah, let's talk about, so let's just talk about the analysis itself. You're talking about liberal feminists, right? Saying this. Their ideology itself is racist. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting too with I saw that actually Isabel von Bevel, I did see that. I think I retweeted it because it's, even though I don't really even like the term intersectionality in terms of analyzing that, it was specifically about Black women's oppression. So even that has been co-opted by white liberals to be about everything else. Can't focus on Black women. Let's see. No, she's talking about Kimberly Crenshaw. Oh yeah, Ree Walker is a perfect example of a Black radical feminist. Yeah.
There were over 1,500, I think, members of her Facebook group, Misogyny Exposed, that I would say are almost all African descent females, many from a radical feminist. So that's quite an interesting place to go to.
I think my greatest difficulty is to get to these women of color. So what I would do then, because I mean, what are you trying to get them to do? I mean, just try to get them to talk about their lives and their experiences of racism, misogyny, how they intersect, how their oppressions compound on each other. I mean, the words aren't as important as what you're doing as well, I would say. Get them to practice radical feminism. Get them to understand it as a practice, as an analysis.
I looked at Crenshaw's analysis. To me, it was very academic, but is it any improvement over the original Lesbian feminist defining fighting oppression? There was something earlier up on I don't know how to scroll back.
Okay, so what?
Lib friends haven't read it.
Well, no, they read it on Tumblr and then they figured out it was a way to abuse other women.
Oh, I see.
And to pass the buck for responsibility. Is what I would say.
BS is mainly white. What is that?
I don't know. Where
Okay.
did I?
I think we go back down. I wonder, because the question about Mary Daly, I wanted to just say about separatism.
Yeah, someone asked because it
okay.
cut out when you were talking about Mary Daly.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't know Mary Daly. I felt like because I wrote some of the first separatist things, she could have gotten in touch with me. I was part of doing a separatist gathering we did in San Francisco in 83. We did a separatist forum. I went to separatist gatherings. There were many, quite a few, in Wisconsin in the early 90s, but also in I think it was 1982, which inspired the one we did in San Francisco. So I don't know. I mean, she could have gotten in touch with me. I never even thought to get in touch with her. I just thought of her as a very privileged academic. I know she's written some good stuff. I don't know. There are a lot of.
She also wrote some lesbian hating things, though, too.
I don't really even. I mean, I didn't read her for the most part. I mean, I got kind of tired of reading things that I found annoying or difficult. But I was friends with Julia Penelope. Kind of depending, but yeah. Oh yeah.
So, okay.
Yes. What else we got here?
I was on ancient spirits. I've been told lately race is my issue, not misogyny. I don't need feminism. It's for white women, hurts black men. I'm not sure what to think. Who gives a fuck about men, period?
You're just erased black lesbians.
You just erased. What about black lesbians? Well, I mean, just, yeah, I mean, there's that, but just, why is it your job to fucking serve men? Your political work should be about what you want it to be about. It shouldn't be about whether it's serving men or not. Are black men oppressed by racism? Yes. Should we be against it? Yes. But like, your vital energy should go where you want it to go. If you're passionate about like helping other women and girls, specifically other black women and girls, that's what you should do. And that's feminism.
On Misogyny Exposed, they do, the black women there do a lot.
I mean, look at the way that a lot of
black men.
Yeah, look at the way that a lot of black men want to silence things, like even with fucking, look at what fucking Bill Cosby got away with for years because he had done such important work for the black community.
Oh my goodness.
Black men need to be held accountable for the crimes they commit against women and girls. All men do.
Yeah.
Yeah, all men from every background. Men are raping little girls. They are, just sucking the life out of women and girls. Like,
that's the most effective way to end dependency on men and get away from them. Don't relate to them more than you absolutely have to for survival, and just don't be around them. Don't do it. Say no. Say no. I'm going to go into detail about this if you want, but further up, Vivian, radical feminists is distorted in Brazil. The analysis doesn't consider race because it says white women can't oppress black women. Those are not feminist. There's a group, we know some of them. They did blogs. When I first came online, I was horrified. These women were saying they were radical feminists and were saying women couldn't oppress each other. I could name some names of who those women are. They're not feminist because it's not feminism.
If you think women can't oppress one another based on race, like or class in the form of oppression, I mean, if you don't understand that, like, you're not a radical.
They were privileged women that
they're privileged
didn't want to be bothered by being accused of being oppressive.
It's buffering again. So
oh no, what do we do?
I don't know. Some are saying it's back.
Is that a mason jar? No, it's a different jar. I save jars to bring my food to travel with. What do we do? It's back. Is there somebody else said something?
Okay, no, it seems they're fine. Okay. I think it just buffers a bit. Okay.
You know about it, I don't.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, that was when I came into the community too, around that same time, and I was appalled at the racism.
Yeah.
Like, and
they were nasty.
They were nasty bullies too. Oh my God.
And one of the head women has been so worshipped and lauded who called herself Fact Check Me.
She's probably watching this. I'm in contact with her.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, she was just nasty. I mean, I said something about males oppressing females. She said, "Are you oppressed by baby boy?" Well, girls are.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, she's a nasty piece of work. But all I saw that she was so loved about.
She still reads your stuff.
What?
She still reads your stuff.
How would I know?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if she comments.
No, nobody comments.
I know I don't comment enough either.
That's all right. But she, I mean, I was basically driven out of the group that Elizabeth Hungerford ran called Undercover Punk, and Fact Check Me was just so worshipped.
She's not even a punk. Can I just say that?
Oh, well, yeah.
She wasn't even punk rock.
No, I know. It's just all pretense.
I hate that. Appropriating punk identity. Come on.
But the only thing I could see Fact Check Me was being loved for something women talked about in the 60s, which was to talk about getting fucked was really bad for women. But these middle-class women had a euphemism, which was PIV, which is very euphemistic because isn't it more grotesque to call it what it is? Yeah, I mean, it's very bad for women. And that was nothing new. But it was like, oh.
I mean, I found that kind of helpful for my analysis because everything I heard this is when I was into the radical feminism. I actually found her blog helpful in a lot of ways in terms of understanding why it was so bad and why, because before that, what I heard a lot was like, oh no, because of porn, women and girls are being like expected to do anal and blowjobs and all that stuff, and which is bad. But she was like saying, I guess it was the first thing that I was exposed to that was saying, no, intercourse itself is bad.
Oh, yeah.
Which, wasn't being addressed anywhere, like with all the het feminists that I was having to interact with before, like the stop porn culture types and the like anti-porn movement, because that's how I got involved in radical feminism, was my opposition to pornography. So yeah, for a lot of women now, I'm seeing they're more attracted to it because of the gender backlash, the transgender backlash.
Because that was said in the 60s. Feminists talked about all that. And that's what seemed weird.
Our history is continually re-erased.
Exactly. And she became famous for it. It's like, well, what about the woman then? But she was so lesbian hating. Radical feminism is the most punk thing. I don't know what that means.
It means it's the most anti-establishment thing you can do. Right.
I don't know what it means, what saying punk means.
So many women find PIV painful. Can we step away from PIV? Call it fucking, call it intercourse.
Of course it's painful.
Yeah.
It's like, why do girls and women do it?
Thank you, Leslie Dia.
Hi, Leslie. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Aw.
Bev Jo, have you seen the BBC Radical Feminist documentary? Any thoughts? Can you name the documentary?
I don't know if I've seen it or not.
Bev, can you recommend some books? One woman was wanting to know if you had book suggestions for women who are newer to radical feminism.
I saw that baby rad fem, which is like, I wouldn't use that term.
Yeah, don't use that term.
Rad fem to me means liberal to right wing. It's like, it's not radical. It's kind of in-groupy, trendy. I don't know. I have to think about what books.
Angry Women. Well, I've seen Angry Women. Have you seen Angry Women?
I think so.
It's like about the revolutionary feminists. And
that would be nice.
Sheila Jeffries is in it, and Linda Bellows and others.
Yes.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm glad you like my hair.
Aw. Thank you. Yeah, that is a good documentary. Everybody should be seeing it. And the books.
I love that they explained why they thought what they did. Like they actually let them explain themselves.
Yes.
And I thought that was really powerful. And then I liked at the end where the Elizabeth woman, I can't remember her name, Elizabeth, but she turned it around and was like, well, are you a feminist? And it ends that way, like, because she was like, well, I don't know. I always would have said yes, but no. It gave her pause about like how bullshit her feminism was.
Yes, for lesbians only. Yes. The anthology. Yes.
You're in that, yeah. Yeah.
Although it's strange because what Dykes and Gorgons is in that, but instead of us being named, we were named by our collective. It's I just felt I always worry about the erasure. But yes, and but there are other books. have to think about it.
Yeah, some other books. I'm trying to think of books I might recommend too. Some of these newer. I obviously would recommend Dykes, Loving Dykes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh.
You want to buy my shirt from me. Okay.
Why?
That's weird. Why do you want to buy my shirt from me? Call Me Lesbian.
It's really self-hating. Call Me Lesbian. Julia Penelope's very self-hating as a butch. I have it. It's very upsetting.
So what did you find problematic in it?
I'd have to look. I haven't read it like, I don't know, is it 20 years?
I'm just giving a thumbs up to all the people that like my
I
shirt.
see that.
Thank you. I like stripes. What can I say?
In it, Julie smoked a lot of affects the brain. I'm sorry, but I've seen some horrific damage in our community.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I mean, yeah, long-term use of cannabis and just, well, I mean, it depends. A lot of women don't really realize how cannabis is affecting their brains. I've had periods of time where I've had to like really monitor it because I've noticed when I try to be aware of it. But yeah. But I also just take it medically. I don't take it for.
And that's different. Yeah, that's different. And we're denied other painkillers that we should be able to get access to.
Yeah,
it's a big plot because it's big business now. But anyway, Julia, what I remember is she wrote very self-hating about being butch based on the fact that as a young butch, she hung out with prostitutes who supported her. So she sort of had this idea that butches were supported by prostitutes. And it was like, not that I've ever heard of. So she just was very convoluted
kind of
with her butch hating,
self-hating. When I read that book, before I ever came out.
Oh God!
Even a feminist, and
wow,
that was a big theme in that book as well.
Yes.
So I think for some, maybe butches, that was an experience for sure. But
was Leslie Feinberg butch? No. My ex didn't think so.
I don't
know.
Based
on things in the book. Well, she completely betrays women and lesbians. Because we're on Leslie Feinberg now, Stone Butch Blue, which I thought was really good at the time because it showed ways butches are oppressed, raped, treated horribly.
Yeah.
But she had a choice of being in a lesbian feminist community and lost her lover because she was so busy wanting to transition and identify with the men that she left this community. And I think she kind of was like, oh, she was oppressed by them. Well, not necessarily. It depends which community. How are you
oppressed by other lesbians, like that are wanting to not hurt yourself? What is this whining that all these women do about like, I want to do something self-destructive, and then it's like other women are like, don't do that, and they're like, quit pressing me, let me hurt myself.
I'd have to look at it again to see the details, but I remember my ex, who was butch, for all her other issues, she didn't think Leslie was butch. But in terms of being supported, well, she was.
If I saw her, I would probably think she was butch.
Oh yeah, no, I know. Yeah. I mean, I did see Leslie. Yeah. But she was taking testosterone, which dressing in the suit and doing the whole thing. I mean, some can pull that off. Yeah. But she was, deep in the workers' world party. And
they're fucking crazy party. Just in terms of the left, they're fucking loony.
Yeah. So there was a lot of like mindfuck stuff in that book. But it was she's a good writer, it was very compelling. Her later book was Transgender Warriors, made it really clear how much she betrayed women and lesbians. But during the period of time, I don't remember the character being supported by prostitutes. It could have been made up. It was a novel. But was that when she was passing as male? Or was it when she was saying she was
it was
butch?
like when she first came out.
I'd have to look at it again. I've never known any butch.
There was an undercurrent of it. Like it wasn't like, oh yeah, but like there was her butch friend, and then like her like hard femme lover who like seduced her, that sort of thing in the book.
I don't know of any other butch than Julia that talked about that.
So let's see.
And she used it to speak for all butches, saying she didn't want to identify as butch. But of course, Julia became an academic. She got her PhD. She was really upwardly mobile, working class. And that was a problem.
Didn't really get her anywhere though, did it?
No. To some extent.
Well, I mean, yeah.
She finally got driven out of the lesbian community by a femme who hates butches. Yeah. And that's a whole other issue. Can you define butch and femme? Read our chapter 4.
Okay, yeah.
We put a lot of work into that.
Chapter 4 on her blog, Bev Jo, Radical Lesbian, I think is the one that it's on.
Yeah.
The chapter 4 of Dykes Loving Dyke is all available online to read for free. You can get an in-depth analysis. Some woman is saying though in the comment section, I've talked about this in my videos.
Yeah.
You can go back and see videos I've done about it.
And that's not true. That one, I got to answer that.
Yeah.
It's not about butches were not indoctrinated into femininity.
Yeah, because they have been feminized.
I don't know.
All women get socialized into femininity. That's not what it is. They don't fucking identify with it.
They don't keep it and take it. I don't know
take
anybody was pushed into femininity more than me by my mother.
Yeah.
But I said no to it. I didn't like it. I hated it. So it's a choice made in girlhood that means that is falsely identified with looking male because you're saying no to male rules that most women think has to do with being female. And women embrace femininity, male identified femininity, partly to feel normal and not feel like such freaks.
Yeah.
Glitching. Oh no, you're missing. Oh.
I'm sorry if you're missing anything. So we're going to keep going. I've noticed cannabis, certain strains can sometimes create complacency and can tone down, if that's the right word, that force, energy, passion that women need to fight patriarchy. Yeah, a lot of cannabis strains, especially if your cannabis is old, if you don't smoke it, within a certain amount of time, the chemicals in it change.
Really?
Yeah, there's this,
wow.
I've read about it before. So like, that sleepy, tired, complacent feeling you can get from smoking weed, usually your weed's too old.
Some get megalomaniac and very energetic. And,
yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of who
I tend to go for strains that will give me more energy because I need that for, just to get by. But yeah, that it can also make you mentally manic. So you just need to be monitoring what it's doing. But yeah, this is the thing with cannabis. It's very different. You have to kind of figure that out. And it's a lot of trial and error. So one thing I would recommend, don't smoke cannabis or take cannabis around men. Can I just say that? A lot of women get raped from that. Yeah.
That's true.
So yeah, you want to just be careful when you're like, if you are needing to take cannabis for whatever reason, experiment on your own privately over time and figure out if it's right for you or not. And also some women fucking lose their minds on cannabis. So
and commit suicide.
Be honest with yourself about what it's doing to you as well.
I would say don't use it unless you really need it. But I've just seen so much damage. Almost everybody I know, something's wrong with them now. And that's scary. And it's been years I've been seeing it. I mean, there were 3 different friends from their letters. I figured out they were regular smokers, and it was true. I've just seen some really bad stuff, but if you need it medically, you need it. But I think there are safer things. But of course, we're not allowed to have them. Or we have to go through all kinds of stuff to get them. But yeah.
So we're on 2 hours now. Do you want to keep going, or do you want to like?
I would go, but it helped your chronic PTSD?
Yeah, I found that too with cannabis. I was able to process a lot of my PTSD.
I found opioids did that for me. When I took cannabis, almost every time I've had a horrific experience. I wouldn't have it. Then I'd be talked into it about 10 years later, and then I tried again. And more recently, the therapist I was seeing for a while really pushed it. And I was given the exact wrong thing at the dispensary. So I had this horrific PTSD night, and I fucking hate it. What should we continue? I mean, is it easier to start up again, or just continue for now? And
well, it depends on what you want to
I guess because they're all here. I mean,
we've got women will come back and watch later, and then we can. These women may join us too. So we might take a break and then kind of think about what we want to talk about too, if you want.
I could continue because I've just had what I need to continue.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
but
I can continue.
Do you need to eat or get anything?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine. Okay. All right. So now that we've hashed that out.
I've never done this before with you or anybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I hate when people think weed is for everyone. If you think it's a medication, then obviously medications aren't for everyone, right? Yeah.
For pain, I recommend opioids, and there's this intense campaign. I wrote an article that's I think it's at both my blogs now.
Yeah.
My second blog was supposed to be for shorter articles, and it didn't turn out that way. I always have
Mhm.
too much to say, but I tried to counter all the myths about opioids. If you don't want people to die, make everything legal and affordable. But a lot of people freak
Welcome
out.
back to your dance class. Thank you for joining us again, Sarah. Cannabis-induced and heteropatriarchy-induced psychosis survivor. Yeah, I've known many women who have had psychosis or develop schizophrenia from taking cannabis.
I can believe that.
It's not, it's serious. Definitely just, be careful.
Almost everybody I know personally has really bad experiences with it. Not Terry, some other friends.
I mean, I've had experiences that weren't great, but I mean, I haven't had any of that really, I don't know, kind of dealing with weird, crazy stuff anyway. I've done a lot of shamanic work. So when I've had those kind of experiences of intensity with weed, I can just go into a different state. But that's just because of my own practice, my own spiritual practice and work that I've done. So like, I would say, unless you're kind of unless you really know your own fucking mind, to like be careful, because you'll be surprised. You have to really,
I felt bad using it when I was a teenager. I never bought any of it. I thought, I'm stopping. I don't like it.
When I was younger, I hated it. As an adult, it was just like, well, I'm not going to get what I need to not suffer. So I have to figure out
you should have access to opioids for one thing.
Yeah.
Which I think have a lot of good advantages. Somebody asked, it's gone.
Let's see. There's something about a thing about there's a small documentary called Corta Historia del Lesbo Feminismo on Mexico, a brief history of lesbian feminism in Mexico, if you are interested in knowing the lesbian groups in Mexico.
Oh, that would be
cool.
nice to know.
Oh, what do you think of Germaine Greer?
Not much. I like she's against the trannies. I recently, a friend was very upset that she said something about rapists should be not penalized as much. I didn't think they were penalized hardly at all. So she just to me is one of those liberal feminists from way back, but I don't know.
I mean, I have like mixed feelings about Germaine Greer. What I don't like about how she's reacted to a lot of the time is I think women are expected to spoon feed everything they're saying. Like I got a lot of what she was saying, and what she was saying in that whole interview, a lot of it was about the fact that most heterosexual like relations are riddled with rape. And so she was talking about the fact that rape is pretty much women are submitting to, or, women are experiencing rape most of the time, and we don't call it rape because it's not violent. So she was saying that rape oftentimes is just, somebody, basically casually just forget about what's being done of these rapists in jail with lesser sentences. So if it wasn't like, oh, you're going to get like 10 years in prison rape, maybe as a society, it's a dumb argument, I would say, but maybe as a society, if you got a couple, years, or there was maybe we would be addressing more rapes. Maybe they would be processed more. But I think she panders to men a lot, and she speaks to men a lot. She's not speaking to women unless she's directly speaking to women in a few books that I've read of hers. She does this thing of either speaking to men or women. But I hate that she even speaks to men. Like, why are you trying to do that?
There was a male judge that just got recalled in California who had given a 6-month sentence to this very preppy village white man who had raped an unconscious woman. And there was protests, and this judge just got kicked out. That was great.
Yeah, that's great.
So somebody says you met a TERF, you use that word, that probably doesn't know she's a TERF. She just knows reality. But TERF is...
You shouldn't use that term even in jest. I don't. If somebody calls me that, I'm just like, don't.
You live in California? Me too. Where are you?
Yeah.
I'm in Oakland.
Yeah. We're in California right now.
Yes. I don't travel. I can't.
So let's see.
Oh, it's buffering.
She was trying to change. Okay.
Sure if it's a slur. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I wouldn't call what Germaine Greer was doing pornography. She was doing some, like, they were talking about whether she was a pornographer. No, she wasn't a pornographer. She took some nudes of herself. And that's a different thing. And she was doing it in a different way. It's not like pornography is about the content of what's going on and what's happening to women within it. You know, it's not like every, you know, context of something sexual or nude is like pornography. Pornography is about male domination and female basically destruction through that. So, Nicole, you're in Oregon. Why don't you hit me up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit me up when I get back. Come on, y'all. Let's build community IRL. Come on.
I want your cold weather. I want the rain.
I know.
I do. I don't like it. It's going to be hot and no rain for like 6 fucking months. I want it.
Yes, the West Coast is great, MD.
I wish we could share it.
Yeah.
Well, radical feminists are everywhere.
Do you have any takes on Angela Davis? I think her view on race is pretty good, but not gender. Don't know if you agree.
Well, she's a communist. Is she still? That's not good.
Yeah, she's a communist. I mean,
she was closeted for years, and I thought quite anti-lesbian, and then she changed. I don't know. I mean, as a mainstream figure, I guess, good, but
she did some cool things.
Yeah. You want sun and warmth, I'll trade you.
I mean, her book, Women, Race, and Class was pretty good. I mean, for what it was.
Nicole's going to hit you up.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm glad.
Oh, but you've got the better hemisphere. You say your name's Charlie?
Yeah.
You've got the better hemisphere. Well, it's pretty fantastic in Aotearoa. You've got glowworms. You've got those amazing Kia. I mean, not everywhere, but those parrots, they come and they grab you.
Oh my goodness.
I'll never forget. What else? Oh, it's magical there. It's wonderful. Good weather. I wish we all lived closer.
I know.
We don't have any water restrictions anymore. They may happen again, but we didn't have good rain. People forget this is an arid, semi-arid area. They always talk about drought, but
Nicole wants sun and warmth.
Yes.
You're part of the problem in Oregon.
Oh.
All of those people like, isn't it a beautiful day when I'm dying?
Oh, I hate that.
Isn't it a beautiful day? And you're like,
no.
It's almost 100 degrees.
And it's smoggy as fuck. Yeah.
It doesn't feel good. I'm dying. It hurts.
It's a desert. Not really. It's a real mixture. There's some rainforesty parts. I could talk about the Bay Area. It's very different Northern California to Southern. I've been really exploring the wildflowers. So I've learned a lot recently. And the animals. I do like we've got rattlesnakes though, but not here. We have to work to see them. Oh. Fausto Gomez. I'm confused that a Marxist lesbian feminist started a lesbian separatist group. Can everybody else see these too?
Oh, yeah, everybody can see the conversation.
So why do people live there?
Why do people live where? Why do people live anywhere? SB in Seattle. It's so cold and
Oh, I'd love that.
Oh, yeah. Send us your calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I run hot. I've got fevers. I'm chronically sick. So I like the cool.
Yeah.
Linda likes the cool. Alex is from England. She comes home winter time. She's barefoot in shorts and wants all the windows open indoors. And I get a little chilly then. So why do people live there? I have no choice about where to live.
You know, if I had the money, I would. I want to visit the community there. I want to get who's that woman? I can't remember her name right now. Yeah. Anyway, we should have an exchange program. Everyone wants to live where everyone else is. Maybe.
I can't travel.
Yeah.
I'm chemically sensitive. Everybody's scented.
Yeah, I mean, even me coming here, like there was a lot of work we had to do to try and keep me from getting too contaminated from just traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's difficult when you're chemically sensitive.
It didn't used to be like this.
Traveling
it's all these products.
Everyone is using these detergents. Everyone's like, apart from that, there's the spray. Oh God, it's horrible. In my building now, in the main lobby, I've had to complain like my ex-partner complained, and then I complained about they've just put in this like air freshener.
Oh,
and
it's
it's
so
a building
toxic.
full of sick people, a lot of them. And yeah, so we're like, can you not? And they're like, well, which one is it? And like, anything like that. Can you not poison us? So they're gonna take it out, I guess, hopefully.
I actually got Whole Foods to stop. They had this essential oil diffuser that made my lungs feel weird, and it was, I know it was to get people to buy more stuff, and I couldn't believe they said we stopped it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Whole
I was
Foods
amazed.
It's a freaking grocery store. What
I
are they
know.
doing, like spraying stuff in the air to
I
make it
know.
smell like essential oils?
Yeah, I know.
Okay, let's stop talking about the weather though, y'all. Let's see.
Oh, God. Well, Oregon's got some real right wing. It all depends.
Yeah, Oregon is full of right wingers. You go out of Portland, it's full of it.
Scary.
We've already talked about rats, Freya. We love them. We love them.
Oh, can you share your thoughts on rats? Oh, if you're gonna get an animal,
yeah, get a rat.
I mean,
they're amazing. They'll change your life.
You want to get at least 2. I think 4 is better in case somebody, for their different personalities. My first rat love, her companion didn't love her equally. They were very young, and it was heartbreaking. She deserved to have real love, and only when she was dying did her companion realize. And she's one of the only people I've ever known who decided to be a different person and not the same selfish person she'd been. I only know one human who did that, and that little rat. But yeah, at least 4. I think 3, but 4. Be prepared for death pretty soon and keep getting more because the remaining ones can die from grief. They don't
live long. Yeah, it's very sad. It's very hard to deal with that when they pass.
But there's a lot of rescue groups.
Yeah.
And
and also the people that you meet in the rat community are really good people.
That's the truth.
It takes because it's somebody, a lot of the time these are people who love something that a lot of people are afraid of.
They do take that
takes bravery. Yeah.
They do take a lot of care. They're smarter than anybody. They can come back from the dead if you're lucky. They're just magical beings, and they're not all like. They're all different. They're really different. So you get somebody traumatized who's really not very friendly or nice.
Yeah.
But then you can get the most incredible love imaginable, and the intelligence is astounding.
Yeah.
I'm crazy about rats. That's the only animal I would choose to have. Although I've gotten very close with a raccoon friend who isn't around now. 6 weeks. Oh God, that's terrible.
You should start a women's group in your area.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Let's stop trying to think of things like, oh, we need to escape. Like women everywhere are ripe for radicalization.
At this point, we're lucky to have a place we can live and survive.
Yeah. Yeah.
2.5 years.
Get women together to talk about their lives. That's what you should be doing. Create community where you are,
Oh, Elizabeth, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Elizabeth. Been there. I understand.
I had to keep getting more.
Yeah.
I think my last one died from grief. I wasn't allowed anymore. I would still be covered in rats if I could.
A women's community in Oregon, but they haven't updated since 2017. There's a lot of women's lands in Oregon, in rural Oregon. Even the most active one is Weemoon out in Estacada. They're problematic as fuck, I will say, but they do gatherings. They're open to hosting conferences and stuff. The problem is it's in Estacada though, so it's difficult to get to. So, if you're, for me, it's difficult. Yeah. So, but also I'm myself and some other women are organizing things within the Portland area. Like we have a reading group. There's one of our members is going to be starting a support group soon. And we also have discussion nights. So yeah, we're doing that in Portland. So that's happening. There's a women's community growing in Portland right now because of the organizing we're doing. So you could be a part of that, and we would love that. We would love to have you.
I think it's better than trying to be part of a land. You have to be really careful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm urban. I don't want to live on the land.
No,
I can't.
I can't either. But there's some real horror stories I've heard. So, women invest in a land, they don't end up being the owners, and they can just be suddenly kicked out. I have friends that happened to in Europe. You really want it to be completely equal, but then, like, what happens if things start going wrong? I mean, ideally, we don't want to have an urban life, but this is how we live, and this is how we find each other.
In terms of my life, I mean, I have to. So the guide you have for starting a consciousness raising group is really helpful, Terry.
Thank you.
I'm glad that it helps you. I'm glad. I hope that more women read it and are inspired to do it, because the Oregon Women's Land Trust. Well, they don't update that often, but I mean, I would suggest get in contact with the women at We Moon if you're interested in knowing about that, because I know.
There's some more about, somebody said something about rats. Oh, wow.
So I mean, what I would say that they have the information, and I know that some of the women there are involved in that land trust. So that's why I would just say they're more likely if you write to them there than to go to their land trust, because these are women who just are not like on social media and on the internet like someone like me is. Okay, they're just not. They have a totally different lifestyle. So you just have to understand that. Is Deep Green Resistance a good organization?
No.
Fuck
Who's asking?
Ancient Spirits.
Oh. Well, it's male run, and then they have a subsidiary that's, you know more about it than that takes the name.
You can't say it's a subsidiary. I don't like the way that I don't like what I experienced having to organize with a lot of the women from DGR.
With Wolf, which stole the name.
I was part of founding DGR, so understand. I mean, not DGR. I was part of founding Wolf, so understand that I have this experience of having organized this organization. I don't like the power plays. I don't like the focus on like heterosexual, like couples and heterosexuals, like they're more important. A big thing is the ways I just feel like I don't know, but DGR, they're a bit different. So I will say this. Also, Derek Jensen is a sexist man. Wolf in sheep's clothing. Okay, don't stop any of these groups that have these men at the front acting like they cry and they can empathize with you. You need to watch out for. Okay.
In his latest book, he came up with a reason in 2 parts, and I wish I still had the book because I skimmed it. Because there were some things that were good. I don't think anything original that was good, but he talked about his prick at least twice. Who does that? To me, it's a form of exposing men exposing themselves to women via books, if not in person. What would be the reason? There was no reason. And it's kind of a death cult too. I mean, I think women get involved and do some of the illegal actions they're recommending and all. It can end up like the SLA, which was another death cult.
As a female radical, don't put your time and energy into male lefty organizations. They don't have your back. They don't give a fuck about you. Like, don't.
First introduced to feminism through DGR? That's because Lear Keith is an old lesbian feminist. What did he do? About?
I don't know. Talked about his weenie. Thank you, Ponderous Pug. Ponderous Pug.
I mean, that was amazing to me because it was like, the book was free. I looked at it, what's the fuss? I'm like, oh my God, really?
Yeah.
The exceptional man does not exist. Oh.
Thank you, Assassin Slayer. I'm glad you love this channel. So what else should we talk about?
Yeah, Leah's very charming. I love the vegetarian myth. It will save lives. She had read the article I co-wrote with Lyndon Self that she didn't credit some years before about the book. I've really liked Leah. I've gone to give her support, and then I'm like, I don't know. It's a shame.
Yeah, I just won't work with those people anymore. That's
you had terrible experiences.
I had very terrible experiences. And I think a lot of it had to do with class and the fact that I just didn't have status. But I'm a really good organizer, and I'm really intelligent and really radical, and I deserve to be respected.
Well, yeah.
Just like all women in the movement do.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of negative things happen to women who were oppressed as well, silencing. Women treated like they're disposable. Women are not disposable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that pisses me off. You know, radicals get pushed out. They were pushing out radicals. They thought they were the radicals, and they were like, we have the radical analysis and this kind of superior attitude, when they were just perpetuating the same hierarchies. So, you know, that's my perspective.
Well,
and also I have to say this thing as well, this idea that you're going to restart the like women's liberation movement from a top-down national organization is nonsense. Women need to be organizing in their cities and their towns. Organize small groups. That's how women's lib was done. You were treated disrespectfully by a wolf chairwoman at Wolf Fest.
Who was that?
I'm sorry, you were treated disrespectfully.
Yeah. Yes. Well, the fact that some wolf het women went to Mish Fest, which was supposed
to
Michigan,
lecture lesbians about
to
fucking
recruit. Yeah.
Well, the thing that pissed me off was like there was a workshop titled something like "So You Think Prostitution is Okay?" that they were doing at Mish Fest. What lesbian thinks prostitution is okay?
Right.
But I mean, there are some that do, but come on,
Right.
lesbians aren't the ones that are Johns. All right, go fucking talk to your boyfriend about jacking off to porn before you come to lesbians. Right. Okay.
They were trying to recruit. I mean,
they're trying to recruit.
Socialist Workers Party had done that in the 70s.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just It's irritating. It's irritating. Yeah. So I don't know. So yeah, and I've heard things from lesbians that were hurt in DGR. Again, women being pushed out. They're not as important. They're not, they're not the het couples with money and resources. So what value do they have? Well, I think they have a lot. So yeah. But a lot of organizations don't see it that way, or they want to be heterosexually focused, or they see heterosexual women as the ultimate victims, and we all need to be putting all of our energy behind supporting them when they choose to be het. Yeah, it's all a choice. It's a choice. And then they try to shut down conversation about the fact that you can choose not to be het. Sorry, I have to clap. I just got to drill that in there. It's a choice. Yep. It's a choice who you put your time and energy and love into. All right. It's one of the biggest cons that patriarchy pulls on women. Yeah. And has women terrified that they might. And stop thinking that because you're traumatized, that means that you're hardwired to want to fuck men. Okay. You're traumatized. That's different. Yeah. Get real with yourself about what you're doing and what you're recreating and what you're excusing in yourself and what you're not dealing with. Then stop projecting that onto other women. Dump him. Yes, dump him. Lear's not only a sociopath, but also secretly het with Jared. I've heard that too. I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't have called Lear a sociopath. I mean, personally, she's been very nice. She's been nice to me as well. But that's the thing. They're nice to your face. The middle caste sort of organizing attitudes and this status superiority thing. They're nice to your face. What are they doing behind your back, though? How are they making you feel? How are they actually treating you while they're smiling at you? Think about it. Because that's the thing with them. This is the thing with this kind of this desire to, these people that are into this hierarchy and this privilege and this status thing and wanting to, not have equality. How do they treat you? How do you feel when you're interacting with them? I've heard that too. Somebody asked if they should eat McDonald's. No, don't eat anything that isn't organic. GMO Should I eat less McDonald's? Yes. GMO is not food, is way worse than previous, just plain non-organic. It makes pesticide factories in the stomach of little animals, insects. It is incredibly toxic, and the cancer rate's already high enough. It's going to get worse. We're getting some interesting stuff here. Okay. So, any good rec on this stance about sexuality? I'm very interested in introducing this topic to my women's group. Wait, what do you mean? We're omnivores. I would suggest reading, I just got to jump into there, Lear's book, The Vegetarian Myth, to see why it's not better for the earth. Because most women who are vegan want to do it to help animals, and more animals will die, and then more of the earth will be damaged.
Ethical omnivorism is really important, which is another reason to eat organic if you're able to. But being veganism is like one of the biggest plots patriarchy's put on women. It's primarily women. So women are malnourished. Women are being permanently smaller and weaker. Too many suicides, too many mental illness, too much cancer. It's really bad for the health. It's one of the biggest cons. And yet most lesbian or radical feminist gatherings will enforce vegan eating, which certainly will make things more volatile and bad for people. Sorry, I had to jump in on that one.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I feel I've talked about this with Leah in our stream recently, and I think you can go back, but I just see it as women depriving themselves for the benefit of someone else.
Yes. Oh, you were brilliant about that yesterday.
That's just my politic about it. Like once I realized that that's what my vegetarian thing was about, I had to stop because it wasn't consistent with what I wanted to promote. So, and also I damaged myself as well. So, I mean, and I was just a vegetarian, let alone, you know, the vegan route.
Like you said, it's an eating disorder.
But also, yeah. So let me see.
It's very disturbing.
Okay, so
the assumption that if you're not, that you won't get cancer, that if you're radical, you will be vegan. It's really a major mindfuck on girls and women.
So one
and plants feel too. People don't want to think about that. Make fun of that.
Yeah, no.
I can
Lee
tell
and I
you
said that, and then that was made fun of, but whatever. So
well, you can communicate.
Doesn't matter. I mean, okay, well, people make fun of you for being vegan. I'm not going to make fun of you for understanding that animals feel pain. That's obvious.
The vegan movement has had tremendous power.
Anyway,
in the
okay.
feminist community.
I'm not sure if you've discussed Pride yet, but since the parades are coming up, I was wondering if you could talk about class as it related to the LGBT movement. Well, okay, one thing I've noticed, I mean, I think that's something that we've been talking about a lot. Okay, and everyone's talking a lot, so if you could slow down because we can't keep up with a lot of this stuff.
If we miss something, write it again, because we will miss some things.
Yeah. So, okay, I guess I wanted to address that because that's important.
Yes.
Class is big. A lot of women who come out later in life run a lot of lesbian and organizations as well. So, I mean, that's a big thing. You know, they have more status, more privilege. Oftentimes, you know, the things that women who didn't ever sleep. Okay, y'all are talking a lot. Can you slow down?
They won't know who else is talking.
So yeah, it's like because it's just it keeps going, and now we can't really keep up. And there's been a lot of
no. Well,
she's a vegan. So,
any study? I mean, it's all big business. Okay. Any studies? No.
Let's move on, though. We've said what we think about veganism. People are free to disagree. Like
I'm just tired of friends dying.
Okay.
And having their health destroyed.
Ow. Okay.
Personal stories don't equal overall truth. That's basic feminism. Of course it does. Personal stories are the truth. Sorry.
So we're talking about class and the like as it relates to the gay, lesbian, and of course the trans thing is big. There's a reason why this is so much money behind it. It makes money. Why the trans cult is so supported.
Yeah.
What other like sexual like sort of thing like what am I trying to say here? Let me think about my words. The reason that it's so promoted and supported by the mainstream is because it totally supports the medical industrial complex to have people be lifelong basically patients of a made-up disorder. So, I mean, yeah. And also you have to look at like who started transing their kids. These were like middle class people a lot of the time. And I'm really devastated by the trans, the way it's being done to children now. It's really setting children up for a lifetime of health interventions and money and just the reliance on a medical system, which honestly doesn't give a fuck. They want to keep you as alive as possible so they can keep making money off of you. It's the same thing with like diseases like my chronic illness and others. Like, yeah, so that's kind of my opinion about that. But yeah, class is big time. I mean, obviously the Pride Parade itself, it's all about selling you beer and shit, and all the corporations that like, hey, we'll take your money. Like, that's what Pride's about.
Well,
or what it used, or what it's become.
well, there shouldn't even be the term LGBT. I mean, I never agreed to be added with
Yeah.
my oppressors. They're all my oppressors.
Yeah, LGBT is what straight people think of us. It's
Yes.
not how we define ourselves.
But before the trannies got so much power, the gay parade completely changed. I mean, when it was first happening in the Bay Area, any lesbian could go with a sign and get some friends and march. And now it's really corporate. It costs hundreds of dollars and it's taken over by all these businesses. And it's foul and disgusting. And there's naked pricks running around. It's pretty horrible. But now the Dyke March has been taken over by trannies too.
What do you think of later in life lesbians?
What do you mean? What do
I don't know.
about
They just said
we help them come out. And some of them, it depends. Some are really wonderful.
Great. Yes.
Some are wonderful. The more, I mean, all women should come out, but some who had a lot of privilege have helped segregate our community by making unaffordable little places and events. I went to a concert, a Chris Williamson concert that a friend paid for. That was more than I could afford. She couldn't afford it either. And there was it was packed, and it was all these older lesbians I'd never seen before. So there's so many sub-communities, but as long as they really try and help and keep things equal, but a lot of them don't. So you go to a lesbian event and it's like you're with a bunch of hets. So you hear them talking about their careers, their property, their children, their grandchildren, their husbands,
the boring topics.
Yeah. So it makes it's difficult. But yeah, I mean, it was a lesbian who came out at 64 who gave me the spider pin. Remember?
Wonderful.
I know. She's sweet.
Yeah.
Some dear friends.
So let's see. So he also gay marriage. So I support gay marriage.
Yeah, we need equal rights. Why not? If you're going to be against marriage, which I agree, ban marriage for hets.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If they can't, if we can't have the privileges associated with that, they shouldn't have it either. Them first. People referring to women's lovers as friends, even if they've been together for years.
That's right.
Your friend. Not my friend.
Own a house together, property, and one of you dies, the family takes it, and the other one's homeless.
It doesn't even matter if you own like property; they'll fucking take your books and shit.
Yes,
yeah, or you just don't know what can happen. So as a lesbian, you need to take your relationship seriously because the het world will fuck you over. Okay, it will fuck your partner over.
My last two lovers were not able to get residency in the U.S.
So
there was nothing they could do. But if we could have gotten married, they could have stayed.
So this woman says, I was referring about the issue of sexuality being a choice, and what you said that women are het because they want to, and they can stop being het if they really want to.
Yes,
they can. Being with men is a choice. Maybe you'll never fall in love with another woman. That's too bad. But being het is a choice. I want you to think about that. Choosing to fuck men, to fuck the oppressor, to fucking wash his clothes, to fucking do all of his emotional labor, to raise his fucking kids, to breed for him. Those are all choices. Or to be his little personal sex toy. Those are choices you are making. You can choose not to do that, and that's where it starts. Okay? So that's what being heterosexual is. Heterosexuality is a role that people perform. Can I just say that? That's what it is. It's not about your sexuality. Stop thinking about yourself in this objectified sexual way. Think about what you want in life.
We need to start our own Dyke marches. We've had Dyke marches for decades. The men have just taken them over.
And women need to stop fucking letting them.
Well, I don't know what the hell we can
do. I don't know what we can do at this point because, okay, but we have to understand that women have sold other women out here.
Yeah, that's the problem. We can end patriarchy now.
A lot of these bisexual women, are like, just, whatever, because they're okay with, men, but everyone else should be. Dyke marches are for dykes.
Nicole, I agree. I agree. They will be there. They will be.
I'm afraid of the degenerates showing up with bats at that one too. Yeah.
They were there last year. We saw them somewhat.
Should we all be extinct? Real question. I'm just confused. What are you confused about? Do you think that by 43 people watching this stream, half of which have probably bred already, by suggesting that they don't breed, that we're going to fucking kill the human race off?
Yes, MD.
Nothing is going to stop the heterosexuals from fucking themselves to death, okay?
What?
This is just this comes up every single fucking time.
I know.
Do you think that I have the influence to stop people from fucking and breeding. I don't. But I can say to women who are interested in having a radical alternative lifestyle that's like going to be doing work to challenge fucking patriarchy, that maybe they shouldn't breed. Maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe you should put your energy elsewhere.
It's weird how they bring this up, because it's like they so much don't even want to think about it. There won't be any humans left. Do you know what the number is? It's over 7 billion.
The population is growing at an astronomical rate. It's unreal.
It's multiple. I mean, it was like, what was it, 1.5 billion when I was a kid? Now it's over 7. The Earth is being destroyed.
We're in no way at risk of this happening. And if that does come to in some future, don't you think humans will address it?
Yeah.
Right. We'll address it. We don't need to be breeding at this level. What's so special about us too? What's so special about your genes or my genes that they need to be passed on?
Can you imagine?
I want my ideas to be passed on. That's what I want.
We might have places to live if there were less people. It's horrific where I live.
Oh, Cassie M., congratulations on coming out and leaving your husband.
Oh, good.
Welcome.
Oh,
that is good. I'm glad for you. Very glad for you.
Wouldn't it be so horrible if there were fewer humans? We could have places to live, and
Yeah, I mean, just think about how people are living now in the U.S. as it is. We live in a very privileged nation. So let's just think about the struggles people are having right now in terms of housing, how many people still live with their parents. I mean, it's severe. There's real problems. It makes me sad that so many lesbians want to have children too. Thank you, Vivian.
I know
it's depressing, isn't it?
Carrie's videos are really good about this. She's got 4.
Well, that was on motherhood privilege.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's connected.
It's connected, though. I mean, one of the big reasons why lesbians want to have kids is so that they can be normal, so that they can be in with the family, so that the family will fucking pay attention to them. I mean, a lot of this is tied in. You want your mother to pay attention to you the way she does to your sister,
or to finally love you.
Or to finally love you. They're never gonna love you, okay?
Not if that's what they're.
And then they'll probably abuse your fucking kids too, the same way they did to you.
Yeah,
you need to be careful.
Too much people, absolutely. God, yes. It's horrific in this area, the population. Moving on, many want to get married and have kids. Well, again, back to marriage, we need to have equal rights. We deserve to have equal rights. And when I've talked about that, even about immigration, I've gotten some weird responses. It's really easy for someone to immigrate to the U.S.
Oh, it's not.
My last 2 lovers could not do it.
It's very hard for a person from the U.S. to immigrate anywhere as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there was somebody, a woman I became friends with recently online, said she was permanently damaged physically severely by being pregnant. Not even having the birth, but yeah, she's never going to be as healthy as she was. I had an abortion when I was 21. I've never been the same. That's horrible.
It's horrible. Women need to know that.
Yeah, they do need to know it.
It's reality, though. I mean, and what kind of bullshit was I kind of just not? What kind of information did I not have? People. Yeah, there's a real lack of understanding about the ways in which this stuff changes you. I mean, yeah. And
yet, women who are pregnant get so much attention, praise, and worship. It's scary. It's really scary. Yeah.
Well, there is a man in the audience.
What?
There are possibilities of a reprint of Dykes Loving Dykes.
If there was enough money.
I would love to make that happen. If I could amass the resources, I would totally fucking do it.
We still have copies left over. Part of it is if we reprinted, where would we store them? Unless a publisher did it, we don't have the room to store the books, and it's a lot of work.
We need to have a
shipping them out.
So, I mean, think about publishers that you might ship it to, or, if you think of anyone who might do it, republish it, that would be good. I don't know, but women also need to start publishing and look at, support women's publishing things that still exist now. So, I mean, we just need to start doing this stuff again, because unfortunately, a lot of stuff is just gone that women had.
Yeah.
So we have to do it again. And that means the privileged need to stop having babies and put their money and resources into this stuff. Okay. That's the thing. A lot of women spend the amount of money that women put into kids, feminist women putting into kids, breeding. That's expensive. All of that money, think of what they could do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Think of what they could build.
Well, most of them are raising men.
Yeah, and then they're raising men too. Like,
I mean, can you imagine being in a community where you're a little girl and the boys, there's 85% boys in relation to the girls? That's what some of these daughters of lesbians have to deal with. It's horrific.
Terrible.
So somebody asked about exclusive versus not exclusive. I think non-monogamous relationships are, is that definitely men?
No.
Oh, let me just answer. Lesbians do not secretly like sex with men. You're talking about how women are bisexuals.
Yeah.
It's very visible we want men. No, we want men
dead.
Gone dead.
We want you dead, Charles.
Yeah, you wish, fuck face. So women who still want to be het, look, there he is. You can get him.
Yeah.
So
that's who you're
supporting.
But
about exclusive versus non, I don't think non-monogamy works very well. If we had no patriarchy and completely equal relationships, I mean, I would like to see equal relationships be possible if lesbians were dealing with the inequalities, like if they really were dealing with inequalities like classism, racism, ageism, ableism, and if butches were not being used and treated badly and femininity worship. Who knows? But monogamy to me makes sense. Generally, whoever benefits from non-monogamy is somebody with the most privilege. And
I need to do that video. There's a video I have in my queue. It's called "How Poly Bullshit Hurts Women."
Oh yeah. Well, it was a thing that men made really popular so they could get access to more women.
In terms of heterosexual relationships, let's just talk about that. You're going to ask for even less from a dude. You're fucking selling yourself to a dude and you're going to ask for even less from him. Come on. But also with women, it's just, I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, Camille, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. But even with women, it's a way to objectify and use women as well. Women do that to each other. Women objectify and hurt each other all the time. It's part of the way oppression works. And we got to move away from that. Women are not a means to an end for you. Don't treat women that way.
When you mentioned women, there was years ago, there was back when I got it, which I don't, there was this drawing. It was so grotesque. It was these three women and the one who looked the most privileged. Like you could tell they were really made to look like individuals. She was the center and the others, you know, you could tell she was like a great class privileged white. The others were not. And they're like worshiping her and they're like, she's in the center and looking smug as can be. And that's what I've seen with non-monogamy in terms of who's the center.
Yeah, I mean, oftentimes, I mean, where the same reproduction, the same hierarchies get reproduced a lot of time.
Yeah.
So who's most beautiful, who has most money, who's this or that, like gets the most attention, gets the most love.
And not real beauty.
Fuck that.
Yeah. The most grotesque.
Yeah. And also, like, who has the time and energy? Fuck. Yeah, I mean, really. Okay. I love Bev Jo talking smack. We have to call out what women do to each other. I'm glad you appreciate it. You know, she gets a lot of shit for it.
Carrie's great though. It really helps. You make friends if you don't say the truth.
If you don't say the truth, you'll never find people like, you know, that's how you get it. That's how you make friends. Say what you think.
Why would women want to be in polygamous relationships? And are you saying with men? Don't be with men. Fuck.
I mean, okay. I'm talking about the heterosexual contract. I'm talking about the heterosexual contract, right? Theoretically, they may have to give less. Well, why are you putting that on another woman anyway? Like, that's the other thing of it. Like, this is the same thing with prostitution. A lot of these middle-class women who are fine with their husbands fucking like prostitutes, don't put that shit on another woman. All right? They should just be resisting, period. But yeah, like, if you're going to be with a man, like, why are you going to sell yourself that way? Like, you're not even going to you're going to put yourself at even more risk of getting diseases than before. You're going to have even more likelihood of him leaving you for another woman who's whatever, XYZ.
And some of the diseases are incurable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on from poly, blah, 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 blah.
We're against it
Yeah.
for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Do you want equality? Don't play with that.
Yeah, I mean, and also, like, come on. Like, we're both catches.
Okay.
Like, really.
If you love
Anyone
somebody,
should be
you don't
so
want to
lucky.
Yeah, somebody will get hurt if you're doing it. It's hard
Yeah.
enough as it is. Carol's very kind to
I know,
let us
and
be
it's-
here.
yeah.
We're here for hours. Oh my
I know.
God.
Okay, so it's
This is
almost
fun,
3
though.
hours. Yeah, I'm glad you're having fun.
It's
not too-
addictive. Holy shit, they're complimenting, they're being nice. You're
I
meeting
know.
all these women you never met who are so nice. Hi.
Who you apparently have
Aw.
influenced a lot. So it's good.
Wow.
Oh, I'm glad that you
Yes.
learned that, Camille. I'm glad that you learned
I
that.
agree.
It's essential. It's essential.
I agree.
Info on feminist spirituality.
I
don't know how much we want to get into that. I mean, I'm a feminist and I'm a spiritual person, but I really don't like a lot of what's posited as feminist spirituality. There's a lot wrong with it. Like what Bev was just talking about with the wee moon thing. There's all of this hyper feminine like worship.
It's been taken over by hard femmes.
Yeah. And it's all about, a lot of it's just about selling you shit.
Yeah.
Like,
it's really changed from what it used
and
to be.
a lot of it's also just about like just a lot of patriarchal notions as well. Like, I mean,
I'm a spiritual atheist.
Yeah.
But Leslie's been writing about there are all these cons with these goddess events. They invite men.
Yeah.
It's all about money. It's all it's
Yeah.
horrible. It's ultra feminine. But you can have spirituality with
The
your
pressure to be
friends.
ultra feminine too as a witch,
Oh,
like
God.
or as like a spiritual, like somebody who sells spiritual services, like, oh yeah, and the whole divine
You're right.
feminine thing.
Exactly, Elizabeth. You can have femininity, feminine. You can have spirituality with your lesbian friends, going out to a dance, sharing music, being in
Creating
nature, communicating with animals and plants. I mean, it's really interesting how you can communicate. I've communicated with wild animals I didn't expect, species you wouldn't expect. I never expected I'd make a connection with flies, but I have. It's really amazing. I made friends with animals I've hand fed, my raccoon friend for years.
And then all your spider friends.
Oh, I love spiders and ratties, wild rats. It's amazing. If you go in that direction, we're taught to hate and fear nature.
Yeah, do you think a lot of these goddess worshiping, hyper feminine, like cult freak, high priestess nonsense appropriators who the fuck knows what they're working with or even doing spiritually in terms of work?
Yeah.
Do you think they're friends with spiders?
Yeah. It's true. Afterlife.
Let's get real about
Message retracted.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and the whole femininity bullshit. Like, that's the thing. Like, or the whole divine feminine again reinforces this idea that to be feminine is to be spiritual as a woman and to claim your womanhood. It's got nothing to do with it. Femininity is a male fantasy. It's a male construct.
Yes.
Okay. It's masculine, really, when it comes down to it. That's the biggest reversal. Femininity is masculinity.
And in terms of spirituality, what is the goal? What is it you want to do?
Blow your fucking mind.
Somebody asked about life after death. Well,
Beth has an experience with life after death. I don't know if you want to share it.
Sure. I believe that rats live on because one of the rats I and my ex had, who we loved dearly, was just a really magical little person. She was amazing. After she died, she took over the body of one of her friends who was very different personality and did things with Andy and I only she'd ever done, like rodentistry. And, where they open up your mouth, they go inside. Only she'd done that. They go way in, they lick your tongue, they clean your teeth, hit the same tooth, did exactly. The friend did exactly as Chaska had done it. Chaska, who died. 3 days, she did it to me. Everything about her was the same, but that rat had never done that before, never did it after these 3 days were over. Looked at Andy, did the same thing, started chasing the other rats around, holding them down to groom them till they shrieked, which Chaska had done, which is funny because she was so much smaller than everybody. Yeah. I believe Chaska definitely lived on, and she either came back to let us know she was still alive or to do a job she felt needed doing. And she then seemed to fade. But to me, they live on. I hope we do. What's this?
Can Bev Jo start a rat podcast? She can call it Rat Femmes. I would love that. Wouldn't
That
you?
is funny.
Oh,
You're
God,
terrified of rats. That can be unlearned. Oh, rodentistry. It's kind of a joke. You put rodent and dentistry together.
Rats often like to clean your teeth. Not all of them, but I've had a few that did too.
You're lucky if you get that.
Yeah, they go straight for the teeth and like they clean them. It's a thing they do.
It's just so
it freaks
wonderful.
People out, but it's so sweet.
Oh,
so sweet,
God,
so
I loved it. It's just like you surrender. You could eat them. You could hurt them. They could hurt you. And it's just this trust and love. And there was a little rat who was actually old and dying.
Another person who wants
to do oh, I don't know how to do podcasts.
Yeah.
I don't have much more to say, but there was a little rat that was one of my rats had died that day. And she was in a shelter. You've experienced it too? Oh, yeah. Rat feminism. And I went in the shelter, opened the door, rat kissed me. I didn't know she was old and dying and very sick, but I picked her up and she did road dentistry. So I adopted her, of course. She was pure love. I only had her for 2 months, but that was worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've had rats where you just had them for a couple months.
Yeah.
Oh, someone was asking about Sarah Didham.
Who's that?
Yeah, I only know her from Twitter, but I've not really interacted with her much. She's like
Feminist.
Kind of I know. I don't know about I just some of her stuff seems okay, but she just seems like a heterosexual feminist. I don't know. I didn't find it that I don't really see. This is the thing. I'm trying to focus more on lesbians and our work. So
radical feminist.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to say I have 3 books I want to write, and I never get to them because I'm always on.
Yeah, you're always busy
on Facebook, etc., answering emails. But one of them is about how fear of nature is destroying the earth, and it's about how men are destroying the earth. But so many women are terrified of nature. They're terrified of rats, spiders, wonderful, sweet animals that some cultures revere.
You're terrified of yourself.
Yes. And so I want to do this book that's going to include all my rat stories in it.
Oh, God. So you want to do a book about rats? What else do you want to write?
I have 3 books. Well, I'm doing the article, but that would be one book. It'd be kind of a memoir. There'd be my sort of life story in the lesbian community, etc. Because we're being erased and we're being lied about.
You need to write that.
Yeah, we're being told we should be grateful to the trannies who helped us come out. The fucking pricks.
I know. This one was out before Stonewall. All right.
Well,
weren't you?
Well, yeah, actually.
Yeah, you were.
In terms, I was in love with girls from my earliest memories. It's true. I just didn't have a community.
Let's talk about what these men did for Bev Jo.
Yeah. Oh, the Sarah person Stidham is married to a man. The 3rd book is about my psychopathic ex that I want to write because I know a lot of women need support about that.
I mean, that's really a problem in like the lesbian community as well. Like, there's not really a lot of support for those of us who've had to deal with, psychopathic exes.
Yeah, there's a great Facebook site that's wonderful. This one says she's used to be scared of snakes and isn't now. I love snakes. I've petted a rattlesnake.
Well, snakes are very powerful spiritual creatures. They represent a lot. I mean, working with animals. What about Penny White? I mean, Penny White's been very nice and supportive to me, but I mean, she's just a middle class heterosexual like white woman, and she says a lot of problematic shit. And I mean, I'm glad she's doing what she's doing, but like, I mean, I don't have anything bad to say about her. She's never done anything to me. I don't really pay that much attention to her stuff, honestly, because it's just like I've been, this whole trans critical thing. Like, I've been fucking on this game a long time. It's boring to me, honestly. I don't want to focus on it. It actually stresses me out as a lesbian to constantly see the stuff they're saying every day.
Oh yeah,
it's horrendous.
It's all lies.
Why do I need to be exposed to this lesbian hating all the time? I want to focus on other stuff.
Like lesbians.
Like lesbians. Yeah, I mean, and it is boring. And also, like, a lot of these women practice femininity themselves.
Oh yeah.
Why are you going to criticize a man for practicing femininity when you do it yourself?
Make them have nothing to fetishize and no place to hide. And some of the rats I had were lesbians. That's another story. When they love deeply. But somebody else asked about trans men. They don't exist. There's no such thing. But there are women that are really self-hating that either want access to gay men, sexual access, or all the male privilege. And we've heard some of the stories, and some of the
The thing is, too,
grotesqueries,
when
and
we
it's just
address
like,
this thing about trans men, a lot of them are femme. I see a lot of like
yes.
straight women saying, "Oh no, what's happening to the butches?"
Mm-mm.
It's not butch women that are transitioning most of the time.
Right.
I've rarely seen butch women transition. It's mainly femmes.
Yeah.
Mainly femmes who can't even hammer a nail into a fucking wall. Like, seriously, from what I've seen, like just the femmiest of femmes thinking they're
Well,
men.
you really know.
I really know. Well, I have books to write one day too.
I know. Do you want to talk about it or
No.
not? Okay.
No, I
knows.
don't.
Such
But I know.
And when they
Yeah.
decide to come back because they're not getting what they want, they think all these het women will throw themselves at them when the het women really want real men who can give them real het privilege. They want to come back. We're being told we should make them the center of our community and focus and really help them. And as far as I've never heard one yet really apologize for saying they wanted to be men or explain why. And if you say, well, it looks like it, you wanted privilege over us, they get enraged. And I haven't met any that weren't really abusive and nasty. I mean, so anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few detransitioners in like the local community where I'm at,
yes.
In Portland now that have been coming around. And from what I see, I mean, a lot of the times it's sexual trauma a lot of the time, and not just, I mean, and also it's obvious with women who are transitioning as well. Like, I don't know. I mean, the big thing, the big fucking like elephant in the room is sexual trauma. And we're going to have to stop the stream soon because I'm running out of juice.
Can I say a bit more about it?
Of course.
I worry that makes them sound like victims. Almost every woman and girl has been sexually assaulted. No. And I think they're going for privilege. And sure, that could be one of the ways they play out. I knew one who did seem to be butch was saying she didn't want to be raped anymore. She's the one I had the most sympathy for. But, you know, if they want to come back, they can support each other. I feel like I've really been treated abusively and harassed and asked to do things for them that was really destructive to me.
That you wouldn't do for an ex-hat woman. So why would you do it for a woman who had transitioned?
Right. And it's not even real. It's just all fantasy
women need
and
to
fake.
Take responsibility for themselves.
Yeah, the gay men are trans. I don't care. Well, what are they trans to? Yeah, some of them want.
Love them. I don't.
You help me with this though.
You're like, I don't care. So real.
Yeah, I mean, gay men are not our friends in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I want to go back to there were points in the lesbian feminist community when we gave up power. I didn't, but you know, the whole baby thing, that was a major focus away from lesbians. Supporting men with AIDS who hated us, didn't want us in our community, said we were dirty, kicked dying lesbians out of the Shanti Project, and then so gay men with AIDS could take all the services, put ads in the local lesbian and gay paper asking for our blood because it was the cleanest after calling us dirty. And then the whole thing of, you know, like putting others, anybody but us first, that led right into the het men saying they were lesbians, getting this massive support.
Women do this because women are misogynistic a lot of the time. That's why this happens. Lesbians have misogyny issues to deal with. Feminist women, the reason why women sell each other out is because they don't value women the way they value men. Period. So you have to be willing to put lesbians first. Period.
And question
yeah.
Like anytime it's not happening, what is happening?
Yeah, why aren't we putting lesbians first? Why am I being expected to put someone who's not a lesbian
Anybody
first?
But lesbians.
Yeah. Or why are we putting the most privileged lesbians first?
Then there's that.
Because that's another problem too.
Yeah.
Like, just all the emphasis on like the poor, like I just see all of these like articles and like just attention being given to the hyper feminine lesbians complaining about how oppressive it is that no one thinks they're gay.
Wish we could see your expressions. We're getting such nice comments. Somebody asked, what do we think of Camille Paglia? Not much.
Don't think much of her.
She's an anti-feminist.
I think
she's another
kind of nuts, honestly.
Yeah, a lot of those women
she's just flighty. She flies all over the place and just talks like this, and then people are like, "Wow, that's so interesting." Like, if somebody was walking down the street, pushing a cart doing that, you wouldn't think it was that interesting, would you?
Well, the media
like
prioritizes and gives fame to anti-feminists, calling them feminists. That's one of the ongoing cons and ploys.
I mean, she's a libertarian. That's what I think of her. She's a libertarian. Someone asked me what I thought of Rose McGowan's work recently. I think she's doing some good work. I think I don't like some things she does. I don't like the way she presents herself. Just although I will say she's not dressing like the way she used to, which is good. She dresses more casually. She's not as like hyper feminine, but she's had plastic surgery and stuff. Like we need to talk about I
don't want to mess anything up.
Oh, you're fine. If you want to scroll up, just hit. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's see. But anyway, we're gonna have to cut off soon here. So
I'm bad. I was reluctant now.
Yeah. What is it?
Radical feminists.
Radical. She's gonna run with that, right?
Everybody is. Look at them.
They love it. They love rats.
Rats, or if you're afraid of rats, you could go to a rescue, talk to them.
Yeah.
If you can be able to hold and caress. Oh God, they're beautiful. And wild ones are too.
Yeah. I hope you both do this again soon. Okay. Well, if anybody wants to buy me tickets to visit Bev, that would be cool.
Because we don't live in the same place.
I live in Portland, Oregon. I had to pay for this, y'all. I thought I was gonna have some money coming in. I was like, oh fuck, I gotta take it to my savings. So anyway,
she needs donations.
Yeah. So anyway.
And Terry was so kind to let you stay.
But Carol,
Carol was so kind to let Terry stay here.
So speaking of which, women using their privilege to help
She's
other
a
women.
sweetie.
Yeah.
She's a find.
She's a find. Gem.
She's so sweet.
I'm glad you found her. Yeah.
I know, I am too.
And so women are saying, thank you for saying that the videos have been incredibly cathartic. So that's good. That's good to hear. I hope they are giving you what you need and that you're learning from them, and also that they're helping you progress in your feminism. I think they've been good too, honestly.
They've been great.
Yeah. I know you would. Witchy. I really
What'd you say? Oh.
All right. So
I understand.
Yeah.
Is there more we will do before you leave?
Well, we can talk about that. We might be able to do something.
Any of the days,
or the next day,
or even Monday before you. You're not leaving till nighttime.
I'm leaving on Monday at nighttime. So we could. You want to do Monday?
We could.
We could do something on Monday.
Tomorrow before the party, maybe.
Or we could do something tomorrow.
If we could control ourselves and make it.
See what we can do.
Make it an hour instead of 3.
I know, we're so bad. So we're having a good time.
I know, isn't this fantastic?
Yeah. Okay. So yes, thank you everyone for showing up. Thank you for talking to Bev and letting us chat and listening to what we had to say about class and heterosexuality being a choice and all of that. And just thanks so much.
Oh,
anything you want to say?
In terms of finding more friends, whatever community go where there are lesbians. Look for those who seem the nicest in kindness, who may not be the ones saying the most radical things, but check them out and just look around and see who looks like nice, and go up, introduce yourself, say, do you want to get together, be friends, do something, go in nature, or go to a concert, or do, I've made some of my closest friends by just taking that step to do that.
Yeah.
And you get pals. That's how I found Carol. We were to dance, and
if you meet somebody on the internet that you think is cool and you like their politics, try to strike up a friendship with them too.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've been friends for years now, and
that's
great.
true.
And now we
finally got to meet.
So glad. Yeah, I know. We met last year, thankfully.
But briefly.
But now we've been able to hang out
5 days.
And talk. I know, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So go forth and be radical. All right. I don't know.
Great to meet you all. Contact me if you want through through Terry, through my blog, and we got a radical feminist
read
group online.
Dykes Loving Dykes. Oh yeah, if you're on Facebook, you should hook up with the radical feminist group. Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch that said they are radical feminists that aren't, so they
Hook
got
up
that.
with hers. It's where good conversations
Radical
happen.
Feminist Coffee House. We have to vet you though, but yes.
Yeah, you'll have to get vetted. So yeah.
Ask certain questions.
Super chat enabled for donations and questions. Okay, well next time we will do that. What is super chat anyway? Okay, I will look into that, Jamada. Thank you for that. I will look into that. I also have a Patreon, which you all can sign up on. Patreon.com/CherryStrange. So anyway.
Because she needs money to live.
It's true. I need money to live, and I have to work. Can you believe I have to work a job?
Well, she's in pain. She's
Yeah.
disabled, so.
Yeah, but also, yeah, I mean, like the money helps me do stuff like this and to organize in my local community and actually go out and meet up with women, and it helps. So, apart from helping me produce content, you're also helping me do radical work. So thank you. Anyway, love you all. Take care. Goodbye. Bye. Okay, now it's going to ask us if we're okay with ending the stream.
Sure. It's hard to say goodbye.
It's hard to say goodbye, but we must.
Incredible.